I'm manifesting through the pain. I reach for you like a fading ghost, like a vapor of smoke. You look back but didn't see me. One day you'll notice something missing, and you'll turn to look for me, and I'll be gone. Just a memory, a fleeting memory, forever chasing me like a haunted cemetery. Forever you'll be missing me. I'm manifesting through the pain, like a whisper lost in the rain. In the night I'd fading like a ghost train. You have only yourself to blame. An empty carriage, a carnival of pain, with ghosts standing in the rain. My memory, your pain. Just a memory, a fleeting memory, forever chasing me like a haunted cemetery. Forever you'll be missing me. I'm manifesting through the pain. In darkness you'll scream my name, but no one will hear. It's just you and your fear. I'll never be near. You'll imagine me, my hands touching, my ghost dancing. Looking into my eyes, you'll see all your lies. You'll remember all the tears I cried. Just a memory, a fleeting memory, forever chasing me like a haunted cemetery. Forever you'll be missing me. Just a memory, a fleeting memory, forever chasing me like a haunted cemetery. Forever you'll be missing me. Is it safe to fall asleep? Is it safe to dream? Eyes open to all these weird things. Alice knew what she had to do. Keep calm and journey on. A splendid time it could be, taking the high road blissfully. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Hectic white rabbit racing against the clock, but Alice had another thought. She knew she ruled the plot, so she ate this and drank that. Was simple as tit for tat. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. A caterpillar smoke rings, he really thought he knew things. Two sides to the same thing, glowing smoke rings, cool and cryptic, but Alice didn't miss it. Big or small, Alice would not fall. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking. of madness with clarity as the Cheshire cat kept grinning. Alice took what she could and headed back into the woods. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Mad Hatter tea party with dormers and hair, they could have lost their minds anywhere, but it was neither here nor there, for Alice really didn't care. Tea time with madmen, a swamp of thoughts. Alice got up and walked off. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Unbothered so far, the Queen of Hearts with her guards. You're nothing but a pack of cards. You can paint the roses red and be off with their heads, but I'm still asleep in my bed. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Alice remained unbothered, you see, for she knew it was all just a dream. Exhilaration swept in
Yeah. All right, folks. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is PRT. Join us in the real reality. And this is the real reality. Reading some of the comments here. So somebody named Oskins Bob says, thanks for keeping one show a week free. We're like, we have 3 shows free. Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday. There's 3. So Bob,
You
we
can
only
join us
have
3 days a week.
Yeah, we have 2 shows that are, one is for the Patreon, and it's just an extra show that you get for joining the Patreon. We already, give you a good deal on the Patreon. We do more than anybody else out there when it comes to the Patreon. That's our goal. We give you a ton of swag. You get a bunch of stuff, merchandise, PRT merchandise. But we decided to go above and beyond, and in order to promote the Patreon and do a paywall correctly, we decided to do it 2 different ways. We decided that the Patreon would not only have a bunch of swag that you get, merchandise, but you also get an extra show. So we just added that on there.
Yeah.
So that's just an add-on. And then we also have hold on one second. Did y'all get that text?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So and then we also have the Thursday show, which is the members only, and that's just $5 a month, and you get an extra show. You just get a show. So that's our paywall. But the Wednesday, this live stream may eventually become a Patreon exclusive too. Probably after Thanksgiving. We're looking at starting it in December. We're going to test run it in December, and then it'll be become the norm in 2026. So it'll just be Patreon members that'll be watching, and so you will probably only be getting Sunday and Monday. I'll keep Sunday and Monday always. Sunday will always be free, and Monday will always be free because Mondays is fun.
Yeah.
Man, we get some great stories. People come in there and tell some
We
stories.
get cool people coming in.
Well, not only did we have the Minotaur story last night on the Patreon show,
Episode.
show. I said show,
Yeah.
right? That's correct.
I mean,
right?
show,
Patreon
episode, pre-record, podcast episode, whatever. Oh, I think I need to fix the chat. It's covering Tony, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but then somebody on Monday, it was Law, came on, Law Morgan, and he talked about a Minotaur. Well, it had curved horns, but he said it looked like a Minotaur, and that was his words. And he came on the show and he talked about what he saw. Mondays, we just open it up and a bunch of people jump on. Sometimes there's regulars that come on, and then there's different people that come on, and they recite their encounters basically, and it's crazy. Like the stuff that people they've seen. For a while there was 4 out of 5 weeks where we had a vampire story every week.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Just talking about all kinds of wild stuff. Friday is going to be Truth and Bass. The first of 3 episodes we're going to drop every Friday involving their alien abduction. But not only did they have that story, and they're going to retell it just for those because it's going to go on to the Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
But for those on Spotify, they wouldn't know because these guys came on our show on the live stream. So, and it was out of the blue. Truth just messaged me one day. I woke up, it was like 11 a.m. and Truth was already at work. He works for probably shouldn't say, but it's like a delivery company.
Yeah.
They deliver packages. So he was already at work and he was like, yo, Wolf, this thing moved, so it was this implant, the alien abduction thing. And so I've been doing a lot of work on the alien abduction, as has Truth and Bass. They're twins. So if you haven't checked out Impromptu Truth, go check them out. But they have a Rumble channel where they did some of the more kind of, what's the word? Intense.
Mm-hmm.
The intense stuff where they talk about human mutilation and what these entities have done to people. We get into everything, man. Those 3 episodes are pretty good. I really enjoyed talking to them, and Nelly was in it, and we all talked about like why sometimes they come through the wall. You know, it's just everything. It was just weird, like all the weird. It's what they have to do with demons, and
Mhm.
you know, you had that guy. We called him Casey, but talking about the demon that he saw in the corner of the room, and those aliens were
Yeah.
stopping and going in to see what it was, and it was like weird stuff like that. But we cover the mall incident. We get into the Las Vegas incident, just a bunch of different cases, and we go over it. And I threw out a bunch of different ones, and it's going to be really good.
Yeah.
I really had a good time recording those. It just flowed. We just kept going. So that's something to look forward to on Friday. Now, tomorrow night, what do we got for tomorrow night on the members only?
Tomorrow night we're gonna drop. What is it that we recorded? Let me see. Hang on.
I know, but I'm going to wait.
We've been recording.
Tony's like, I wasn't there. I don't know.
I was there when
You
he was.
weren't?
Well, I mean, I wasn't on the episode, but I was there spiritually.
Spiritually, yeah.
I was dreaming at the time at work, so I was looking over you. Oh, speaking of dreaming, I've been having dreams lately again.
That's what happens whenever you don't
Yeah, finally.
partake of the devil's lettuce.
Caddo
First
Lake.
time in the
Caddo
years.
Lake.
Caddo Lake story. That's
Dude,
right.
tomorrow night, not to cut you off, Tony, I don't know what you were mumbling about. It's not important. But tomorrow night, dude, okay, this guy, I don't want to give it away too much, but you join the members only just to listen to this episode.
Yeah.
It's all about Bigfoot, but it is freaky, dude. The guy goes out there and he has like these dreams. I don't know what they were.
Mhm.
Visions, dreams, both, maybe. I don't know. But the guy goes out there to Caddo Lake, and dude, it got intense. When he was talking to me, that was really intense. When I talked to his friend, and he's like, "Well, if you don't believe me," because he kept acting like I didn't believe him. I was just being quiet. Like, I don't know what to say. I was just like, I'm like, dude, you're acting like I don't believe you. I was like, dude, I'll get my friend to tell you. It's a military guy. You know, he's like, I'll tell my friend. He'll tell you. And first thing I did, he had them both on the phone together. I was like, your friend's nuts, dude. I don't believe anything he's saying. And he's like, I know you didn't believe. I was like, dude, settle down. I joke. He doesn't watch the show. He does now, but he didn't watch the show. That was the thing. He wasn't he didn't really watch the show. And here's what's funny: he has a dog named Jeff.
Yeah.
His dog name was Jeff. So I found out a little bit about that. You know how we talked about that on the show, like his dog's named Jeff. His dog, his ex-girlfriend had named the dog Jiffy, Jiff, right? Because the dog was like peanut butter, yeah. And so she just called him Jiff. He was a rescue, and then he just started calling him Jeff. And so she went on a trip, and when she came back, the dog was Jeff. So that's how it happened. Just so you know. But here's the thing. The dog was named Jiffy. And now people say that's a Mandela thing. Because I got into it with him and I said, we didn't get into it. We were talking about it. And he remembers it Jiffy. Right? Now it's Jiff. Like it was never Jiffy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So the dog's name was so he started calling him Jeffy. Like, hey, Jeffy, you know. So she comes back from vacation from Lake Tahoe and she's like, why are you calling our dog Jeff? I called him Jiff, like, because he ate a whole jar of peanut butter.
Yeah.
Because like she took the dog when she first got this dog. And it's not important. I'm just trying to until we get to 300. And it's tomorrow night's episode. But like she took the dog, you know, like to the dog park or whatever, and she put peanut butter inside of one of those. Well, the dog sniffed the peanut butter and she didn't close the lid on it, and he ate the whole jar.
God.
Yeah. So she was talking about it was one of those big jars from Sam's. Like it wasn't like some little.
God, dang.
And the dog ate it all.
He's
You know,
sick.
well, he definitely had some pooping problems, so she just called him Jiffy. You know, but I said Jiffy. See, people don't they think that that's not correct. I'm telling you, folks, it was called Jiffy. I'm not even joking. I remember that. He remembered it too. The guy from tomorrow night's episode. But anyway, it's not important. You know. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, his encounter was pretty wild. And the stuff he was seeing was pretty messed up.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like I told him this. I said, "You're not the first person that's told me a story that had a dog named Jeff."
Mhm.
He's not. That's a weird thing. But the way the dog got the name, now that's a whole different. That is a weird thing. That's kind of a weird. So, but here at Paranormal Roundtable, we do get into some weird stuff, and you're going to get into some weird stuff tonight. I am very excited about tonight's episode. Tonight's episode is going to be the first of like probably a series, and a couple of these will probably end up on the Patreon. I'm not trying to get you to hoodwink you into going and joining the Patreon. You should be on there anyway. But there's a bunch of stuff that needs to be explored here, and it is huge. I really think that we cracked open another gold mine, and I say that I don't say that lightly. I'm telling you, folks. So, being who I am, and thank goodness that I am who I am, because I have a lot of friends. If you listen to my enemies, everybody hates me and everybody's a potential enemy, blah, 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 blah. There's 6 of these people. Okay. 6, 7, maybe. I don't know. So you have like 6, 7 people who hate me, and then you have the rest of the world. But if you let them tell it, there's this whole mass of army that just despises me. But that's not the case, because in my day-to-day life, and my people here, my boys here can tell you that we have a lot of friends, and all over the freaking world, everywhere you look, there's friends. I have a lot of people that I consider close friends that if I called them up right now, I could say, hey, man, I need $10,000. Mm-hmm. They would tell me, you need to go get a loan somewhere. They would refer me to some loan places. Yeah. I can tell you that. I might
need help. You know who to call.
Someone else.
But
if I called them and I said, hey, I need you to help me move some stuff, they'd be there lickety split. Really, they would do that. I don't know that they would give me 10 grand, but they would, But I do have a few friends like that would do anything. They'd go out to the ranch, they'd mend a fence, they'd come to the house, they'd help me fix it. We have a lot. I'm blessed. God has been good to me, but it's not by coincidence. It's not by accident, because I put in a lot of work. I put in a ton of work in my life. And I cultivated these friendships, and one of them really paid off big time. Once again, a friend of mine came through. Now, this wasn't him calling me up and going, hey, I'm going to tell you all this crazy stuff. No, but he introduced me to some people. And these people opened up, because this is something we had been wanting to talk about for a while. Now, I think when we had Kumbo on, when he came on, and I think it was on the pre-record or something.
Yeah.
We kind of got into it. We touched on this a little bit. And if I remember correctly, it was Kumbo Baker, because he had been to Africa and so had I. And so we talked about this, but it's something in Africa. It's a huge continent, and it is very heavily populated, and they have widespread belief. Widespread belief. You would not believe how prevalent it is, especially in the Saharan and just below there, the top of the sub-Saharan area. And they have these beliefs in these beings. Let me see if I can pull up my maps here. Dang it. That is not it.
What area are you looking for?
Oh, I had a map pulled up, but it jumped off. It's no biggie. I'll find it real quick here.
Should be easy to find if you just use Google Maps. You can type it in. It'll take you right to it.
So, like we were talking about, the phone is a piece of crap. Hang on. Oh, well, it's me, not the phone. Oh. I'm the one that screwed it up. Tony's all ready to jump on that. Oh, yeah, you're a piece of crap.
Human error, huh? Surprising.
What a shock. Okay. So we got 265 people in here. I can't wait to get enough people in here so we can start talking about this. But I know people, and I know how it goes, and they'll be lost in the middle of whatever. But I know there'll be some people, and then they'll be wondering,
Late.
Yeah, everybody shows up late. Thank you for that donation,
Paula.
Paula King. How is Banjo? Randy's asking how Banjo is. He's still an annoying little turd.
Still got 4 legs. Hoping to change that
For
soon.
now.
For now, don't say things like that.
Hey, Andreas. It's been a while
Luckily,
since I've been
Tony
on.
takes better care of him than he does his vehicles. Because
Or myself.
Banjo would be missing like most of his teeth, couple of eyes, both
Yeah.
eyes be gone, and he'd have one leg if it was like his vehicles.
Well, he'd be in like one of those little doggy wheelchairs.
Oh yeah,
With the
back legs
the
can't
back
work.
legs are just wheels.
Yeah, those are cool, man. People do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's my plan eventually, even though his legs are all working. I just want to get him in a
You're gonna
wheelchair, all 4 of them.
donate his legs to science, and
Basically, I just want to turn him into an RC car.
gosh, dude. So here, let's just get started here because I don't feel like waiting around till 300. But here's what I'm going to tell you. So I have a friend. I worked with this guy years ago. We both worked at the same company doing security. And now I've met a few people from I've met multiple people from all over the world, but like a few people from his region of the world in Central and East Central Africa. And I have talked to a couple different people that I've met through the show about these were hyenas or hyena men. And because I believe we have them here in Texas too. The east part of Texas near the Louisiana border, probably maybe 50 miles, and then from there into Louisiana, there seems to be stories of creatures that either look, sound, or walk like a hyena. And then you get them out in West Texas too. But this story is not from West Texas or East Texas. And this is something that apparently in Africa is very prevalent. So much so that they have multiple names for these things. But near this region where he is from, it's called the Bultenjin. The Bultenjin is basically a word. It is a name. It comes from the Bornu Empire. Now, if you don't know what Bornus are, they are people, they covered Sudan, Chad, and the Niger region, that whole region, and then going up into the Saharan Libya. If you look at a map of Africa, or if you have one, you can pull up the different countries with Lake Chad on there.
That's South America, sir.
Yeah. No, it's not.
The word,
I can't read.
The word Bultenjin actually means I change myself into a hyena. That's a long definition. That's what that means. And the people that ruled that region for a long time, and then they were supplanted going to the west by the Fulani eventually. But they had a sort of an empire. There was a whole group of people there. So this is crazy. At one time in the Bornu Empire, there were actual cities, villages that were said to be completely populated by these creatures. And you think I'm joking. There was one called Kabotiloa. Kabotiloa, that was the name of the capital of the were hyenas. The Bultenjin actually were warriors, and they could shapeshift, and they could turn themselves into hyenas. And they used these people to defeat their enemies and bring terror on that region. Now, you're talking hundreds of years ago, right? Yeah. One thing you got to understand, there is a heavy Arabic influence there, particularly the language and Islam in Sudan. So much so that the Sunni became extremists and began to attack and kill the less extreme Sunnis and their neighbors, the Christians. Of course, there are multiple different Christians there, and the Sufis. The Sufis were heavily targeted because Sufism, even though it's a part of Islam, Sufism is an esoteric religion. that is an offshoot of Islam. It studies the essence and like becoming one with God, one with nature. The kingdom of God is found within. It doesn't have a lot to do with the man-made laws, and they don't follow the man-made laws. It's more of an esoteric mysticism trying to find Allah within. And that's something that flies in the face of they don't follow the Quran the way that the Sunni extremists do.
So it's kind of like their version of Gnostics. Then.
They're sort of, yeah.
More
and
or less.
So what ended up happening in Darfur region in particular, there was a lot of bloodshed and a lot of killing, and to the point where South Sudan now is predominantly Christian, and Sudan proper, the northern part, which is some people call it North Sudan or Sudan, is Muslim. Now, my friend Mechai, I hope I said his name correctly. He always says, I just called him Mekki because that's, and I've known 2 Mekkis in my life. And one was Chaldean and one was Sudanese, but this guy's Sudanese. And I used to work with this guy, and he told me, he's like, years ago, he goes, you would have told me this stuff, I would never have believed it. But he went back home when he came here when he was 3 years old. His family is Sufism. They are very moderate Islamics, sort of a live and let live, and they do like I said, a lot of they're very communal, and his people were actually they're pretty tough. They're a little more militant. They were the ones that did a lot of the fighting back against the Sunni and drove them out of that Darfur region and helped to create a border. And they teamed up with the Christians. They're very closely aligned with moderate Sunnis and Christians. They all kind of had to band together against these extremists. Extremism just seems to take hold in different places, and you get this mindset of just ridiculousness. I know a lot about this conflict too. I could go on and on and on, but it's not about the conflict, but these people that were displaced. That's what it's about. Now, these words that they call these creatures in Arabic, there's many different words that they call these creatures. We're going to get all into that. It's going to be a whole bunch of stuff. Now, there is a type of Djinn. It's called a Shik. Now, not Shik, Shik. The Shik is a type of Djinn that is actually part animal and part man. And the Shik are known to inhabit areas where there's water, even though they are not typically a water demon, whatever.
Yeah, they're not aquatic.
There's another one called, this one it's called a Hin, right? Hinn. These are Djinn that resemble animals, and sometimes they take the form of black dogs, scorpions, or snakes, but it gets a little convoluted because you don't know who you're dealing with, because they can all do that. But this particular being likes to be a black dog. So you have these creatures, black dogs, that run around in Africa too, because dogs exist there, right? Now, there is another type of being. This one's called a Marid, and it's considered one of the most powerful, and it is a rebellious demon Djinn, and it is connected to the element of water. So these are the culprits, right, that could be what these creatures are. If you were to talk to one of these people from that area and you talked about the Boltenjin, unless they are Darfurian or Barunia or Bornia, they might consider it a Bauda, which is another type of being, or they could consider it a Djinn, right? The Buddha or Bauda is different ways to say it. The Buddha, and different regions, they all have a different dialect. There's not just one way to say it. Also, and I researched this, the Boltenjin is not just the Boltungan. It's Boltungan and Boltungan, depending on what region you're in. If you are in eastern or western Sudan, you might call it the Boltungan. If you are in the east or part of Chad, if you're Chadian, and there is an Arabic population there, especially in the north, they call it the Boltungan. Okay, so there's, and then a little bit further down, they call it the Boltungan. And so it's just that doesn't matter how you say it. Everybody says it differently. I figured that out. Now, I interviewed multiple people about this. This is how it all came to be. This is crazy, right? So I talked to Mekki. I'm just going to call him Mekki. I talked to Mekki about, I guess, I keep thinking it's like a few months. It was back in last December, right? We were living out at the ranch, and I had a lot going on.
Yeah.
And so I told him, I said, hey, man, he says, you know, I don't really watch your show that much. He goes, but my wife does, right? And he's like, she's from Sudan, and Meki's family is part Chaldean because of the conflict. You know, part of his family is in Chaldean, and part of them are Sudanese. And his wife came from Sudan, South Sudan. She's a Christian. Meki is, like I said, he's a Sufi. They married, and they're very secular, really. They're not really very religious, but his family is. And his family lived in that region. According to him, his family has roots going back 1,400 years. This is what he said. He goes, I could trace my lineage back 20 generations. Like, we are there. We're from that region. So my grandfather refused to leave until at gunpoint his land was taken from him. And they fought a battle, multiple battles actually, to get that land back. And it was in a disputed territory. And it was so wide open that it could be attacked that eventually they just had to give it up. And they sold it to the government, which still fights to this day to keep that land as theirs. So they ended up living in eastern Chad, the country of Chad. Meki tells me, he says, hey, you know, he goes, you talk about werewolves, right? When we worked together, it was me and him and another guy named Wayne and a guy named Jerry. Those guys, Wayne and Jerry, they were at Fort Hood. They were in the military. Jerry had a crazy story to tell us. We worked together, right? It's not a real long, involved story, but I'll start with that. Mm-hmm. We were working at security at a parking garage, and these two were the parking attendants. And Jerry tells me, he's like, so we started talking about weird stuff, and because the place was haunted, the building was haunted. Scorpion used to work there. He can tell you, we watched a shadow walk out of the elevator, dude. With two of those guys one time, not those two, but these guys, I've talked about them on the show before. They were twins from Poland. I was working with them. There was this ball that was right there on the pillar, and it unfurled like a damn pill bug. I'm not even joking. I've told you this before. Uh-huh. I saw that with two other people. A guy named Falcone, who used to work with us, and if you remember the Halloween episode a few years ago, we talked about the water spirit that appeared at that place when he was doing. He worked there on his patrol route. He goes, I don't know how you guys can go up in here. He goes, I come in here, I go in, I do the detects, and I get the heck out. He goes, I don't know how y'all can sit up in that atrium. I told him, I said, that's the job. You got to do it. Of course, lucky for me, I was a lieutenant. I didn't have to. So I had somebody else do it. I'd be like, hey, you got to work there. But if nobody could do it that was in my region or whatever that I was responsible for, I'd have to work it. But when they put me there at that particular building, I told them, I said, you know what? I still work at the club. And so I'm only going to work 3 nights a week. I'll work there. I'm still working at the club. So that was my excuse. So then they put Scorpion over there. And Scorpion had to sit there. And he calls me after 2 hours. He goes, dude, there are shadows moving around over here. This place is as haunted as the house. And I told him, I said, well, good thing we lived in the haunted house. You don't have to worry, but you're used to it.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'd like a break from the house to here, So here's what happened. Meki goes up there to use the restroom one time. He comes back down. He's terrified. He's like, dude, I'm not going to go up there by myself. He's like, I said, so what do you want me to do? He's a big guy. He's a big Sudanese guy, And I said, you're scared? Your family is like born in blood, like why are you? He wanted me to go with him. Went up there with him, right? And I stayed out in the hallway. He went in to use the bathroom. It was one of those that had like 3 stalls, it was a big bathroom, But I just didn't want to go in the bathroom with this guy, whatever. So he's in there blowing it up, dude. And he comes out. He's like, hey, man, thanks. He goes, I couldn't sit in there without somebody. There's just weird stuff. The Djinn are here. And I said, really? So he starts talking to me about this. And he says, these shadows are moving around. He goes, when I was a kid, he goes, my family was attacked by a Djinn. We kind of left it at that. We didn't get into it. And I said, let's not talk about it up here. Let's go down into the parking garage, up into the parking garage, and let's talk about it. The parking garage was actually below us. I said, let's go, So we took the elevator, went back down, and we started talking to these 2 guys that were in the military that worked with us. And one of them was telling me, he goes, Wayne used to be with Jerry in the military. He says, Jerry, tell these guys a story about what you saw at Fort Hood. Well, Jerry's story, pretty quick, is not real in depth, but they have these buildings that they build on these military bases. They use them for like doing drills and things like that. Well, the military's, we were talking about that earlier, how cheap they are. like
Yeah.
the MREs, right?
Mhm.
We were talking all about it. Well, the government is not into spending money unless it's bullshit. So tearing something dangerous down, that's bullshit. We need to give money to other countries that don't give a damn about us. So what they do is they just leave them up. And then later on, maybe 20 years goes by and they'll be doing tank maneuvers or something. I know Abe Seas and I talked about this on his show. Those buildings are just there. And they'll be like, hey, you know what? Blow those buildings up. We'll run them over with a tank or something,
Yeah.
We'll get something out of them. They've been there since the 70s, since the 60s. We were in Vietnam, whatever. So this happened in the early 90s. They were doing maneuvers and he was getting set to go overseas to Bosnia. He was getting out of the army and he was fixing to go into the private sector. And he says, I was doing these drills. They were doing these training and they were letting us use those buildings. He said, we were going in there to sweep and clear. He's like, and I saw something in the corner of this building that didn't look human. He's like, when my eyes adjusted to it, I realized that this thing was sitting in the corner and it had a wolf-like body, but it couldn't have been a wolf because it stood up like a man. He said, we heard pop, 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 just those same, and then it jumped out the window and we didn't have live ammunition.
Yeah.
He's like, we were just dumbfounded. He goes, and one of the guys I was with started shooting and I'm like, what are you doing? Jerry's this crazy black dude. And he's like, yo, fool, why you, exactly. He goes, fool, why you shooting, man? You ain't got no bullets, dude. Like, what do you, and this guy's like, well, I just, they're in shock, right? So Wayne's over there shaking his head. He goes, yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff over there at the hood. They call it the hood, right? Fort Hood. When he says that, Mecky's over there. He's kind of looking at his phone and he's like, oh my goodness. That's how he talks.
Mm-hmm.
Not for what he does though. He goes, oh my God. He goes, when I was overseas in Sudan, I swear, I saw this on the Holy Quran. I saw this thing. It looked like a wolf. It attacked me, blah, blah, blah. He called it the Shik, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the Shik, right? And I'm like, this is the first time I'd ever heard of this, even though I'd worked with Arabs, and Mecky spoke French and Arabic. Those are the main two languages there in Chad and in that area of Sudan. Why? French colonialism and Arabic colonialism. Basically, both people colonized that area.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the main languages that they speak. Now, there is a Chadian language and there is a Sudanese language, but they're not even as used. They're not, those languages are not used like French and Arabic. So he says, man, there is this chick. It came to me when I was a child and it tried to attack me. He's like, and I swear, man, now it has gone after my son. And so when he told me that, like right then he gets a phone call. I'll never forget. He got a phone call. His wife was calling him. He had just gotten married at that time. And he decided, to take the call. I had to go. I was like, well, guys, I got to run, and I had to do a patrol and I was on patrol that night. So I never finished the conversation with Mech, but years later, we worked together at a plant at this plant, whatever. They made vodka, what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And so we hired him to work with us and he worked with us for about 2 or 3 months. We were over there at this particular place. It makes vodka. It's a very famous vodka. And he says, man, this place is haunted. It's got Djinn here. I've seen them, whatever. We were talking about it. I said, well, you're not the only one. A lot of people claim to. And the people that ran it told me that there was weird stuff that they would see on the cameras. Now, we reinstalled cameras there, and I would go there periodically and tell them, look, dude, there's shadows. I don't know what to tell you. But Mecky told me, he's like, I'm convinced this place is haunted. And I said, I believe you. I personally didn't see anything there. But you heard that?
Yeah, you heard that too?
You heard that?
Yeah.
It's like something tapping on the glass.
Yeah.
So I was convinced that it was haunted too. Mackay tells me, and that's not how you say his name. I'm butchering it, but Mackay tells me, he says, he goes, I can't take another day of this. He goes, I feel like this Djinn that followed me and my family. He goes, I think that it's followed me to work. And it's like, this is what he literally told me. I think that it's intermingling with these others that are here at the thing. And it's appearing as a black dog. This is what he told me. Right. And so I was talking to him. It was cold as a witch's tit that night. I'll never forget. That's a saying we have here in Texas. And I told him, I said, dude, I was sitting there and I was all bundled up and we were outside. And I said, well, I got to run, but I'd love to hear your story about the Shik. And he goes, oh, you remember that? I goes, yeah, I'll tell you one day. Never happened until recently. Years go by. And then in December, Mac calls me again. It seems like it's always in the winter. And he says, hey, I have a story for you, man. He goes, my son went back home during Christmas vacation, but they call it winter break, whatever. He says, and something tried to attack him. He says, I didn't tell you this. He goes, but for 6 years, I was going back and forth from overseas to here because I was working security in the private sector. And he's like, and I had a job and we were working at Lake Chad. He goes, and there were these creatures. He goes, the military guys called them whip dogs. Because they have these tails that they whip around, right? And they look demonic. I mean, absolutely demonic. And the whisper is that these creatures are something that the military, in particular, these subcontractors that come over there, they are released by their governments into these third world countries to see what they do, to see what they're capable of. Well, there's a problem. If that is the origin to these creatures, then what the hell is the Botunjan? Because this thing is something that has been around for a long time. The Botunjan goes back hundreds of years. This is supposedly the product of evil men, sorcerers, if you will, or magic users who have given over to the dark side and use that ability to shapeshift, in particular into a hyena.
Sounds familiar, like skinwalkers.
Exactly. But they don't have wolves in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
The hyena plays that role. And you would not believe how many people believe in these things and how many people have seen them. If you think that people seeing Dogman and werewolves is very common, dude, if you went to Africa and you just pointed at somebody, if they hadn't seen a Botunjan, then somebody they know has. And I'm not even joking. Now, this is probably like, I'd say 6 or 7 people now that I've talked to that don't know crap about Dogman, but know about hyenas, were-hyenas. And depending on what part of Africa, or if they're Islamic influenced, whatever, that's what they call them, whatever they call them. There is one called in Zimbabwe, it's not in Mozambique, and it's called a Zirakwai. A Zirakwai is another one of these creatures, but they live in the ground. They come up out of the ground and they attack people and they pull them under, and they have a tail that whips around. Very, very similar. And if you look at a map, Mozambique is in South Africa, like north of South Africa to the east. That is not even close to this area. Like this, I'm telling you, it spans the whole continent. Now, in South Africa, same thing. They have these creatures that people talk about. Now, there's a lot of Nigerian influence down there because a lot of them that were immigrants went there to work. And the British, invited them down there and they said, hey, we've destroyed the native people here and come here and take their place, is what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they took the land that belonged to the native people. I'm not going to get into it, but the Zulu got a raw deal. And these other people came, and now they're like, this is our land, African National Congress. No, it's not. It never was. I'm not going to get into it because there's dummies that will actually argue and say that it's theirs. And no, it's not. It never was. They're immigrants or the descendants of immigrants. But they brought their legends and then they mixed it with the local Zulu legends and traditions. And I have a very close friend who's Zulu. Thank you, Shade, for that. And so whenever you talk to any of these people, and I've talked to half a dozen of them, and y'all have heard me talk to some of these people, they'll tell you about these legends, about these stories of these men that can shapeshift. And a lot of times, get this, it's based around cannibalism. And get this, it happens during wartime, in particular, war-torn areas. People always ask me this question: why is the third world so full of black magic? You know why? Because it's a spiritual opening. A lot of these people, in fact, I'd say most of them, have a despair. They are literally depressed. They are just prey for spirits. And when you have a spiritual opening of depression, of anxiety and stress, and your mind is just shattered from all the horror that you've seen, well, guess what? You may be open to having one of these attachments come to you, and it convinces you, hey, you're getting a raw deal in life. You want to get ahead of your neighbor, put a spell on him. Do a curse, throw a spell. You want to get really far down into the rabbit hole, why don't you take up shapeshifting? Why don't you become a ravenous beast and let the bestial impulse take you, and you can wreak havoc on your enemies? Then you have both sides doing it, in particular in Civil War. I can tell you that. It happens a lot. Here's what's crazy. You're getting reports now. Well, if you're me, I don't know. But if you go to Yandex, you can probably look them up. I'm not supposed to be promoting it here, but I can tell you this, that those people over there in Ukraine, they are seeing some weird stuff, weird, wild stuff. Military contractors reporting shadow beings coming out of the dead bodies and attacking them. I'm not even joking. I'm not making this up. People seeing these weird shape-shifting beings, and there's even reports of cyborg and robot combatants. I'm not playing. This stuff is all over the internet. Now, you might not find it from using Goggle, but you can find it from using other engines, right?
Mhm.
These are reports. Now, you'll get them all over the internet, and they'll be on YouTube for a little while, but then they get taken down. So if you see them, download it, record it, whatever, because it's happening. It's being reported. There's some channels out there I'm not even going to mention, like, because I don't have time to sit here and promote a bunch of them, but there was one on a show that I watch pretty regularly not too long ago, and I did it as what do you call that, research. And somebody had said, hey, there's an episode here, go check it out. I sent y'all the link to it. I don't know if you had time. We've all been working so much. Usually I'd be like, y'all are slacking, but we've just been working too much. So here's the thing. When Mackie, he told me, he says, I was back and forth for about 6 years until my grandfather passed. He goes, my grandfather refused to leave. He wouldn't leave Chad. He wanted to stay there in that forbidden zone, whatever. And so I would go back and check on him. And he goes, and I took a job doing security near the Lake Chad. They had a dam there. And so he went to they were building it anyway. So he goes to work there. Lake Chad is a huge lake, and it supplies water to 40 million inhabitants. It is a huge place. Sparky says, stop waving your hand as we go, be quiet, dude. There's a reason why I wear this, and it's nobody's business. But look, let me tell you something. The gold is very important. Everybody knows how I feel about it, and it is an investment. I suggest everybody get it if you haven't gotten it already, because you'll be left behind. I'm telling you. He got a job working there at this facility that they were building, right? He says, so it was hundreds of miles away from his grandfather. So he goes, I convinced my grandfather, who's very stubborn, wanted to stay there where his grandmother had passed away and everything. And he says, I'm going to take you with me. We're going to be working there for about 6 months. His grandfather's like, I don't want to go. Becky's mother showed up, and his parents convinced him, to go with him. So his mother stayed there with him for about 6 months. He goes, dude, they were paying me big money. It was good. It was good money. Now, of course, it's dangerous as hell, and you have to walk around with a machine gun, but you have partners, you have friends. He said, the first time I saw this thing, he goes, I thought I was tripping. He goes, I thought I had seen one of these creatures before, but it was in the form of a shadow. Like it looked just like a werewolf. Like he didn't say hyena. He said werewolf. He said it was like a wolf-like creature, but it was, like a shadow being. If you go back, you listen to last night's episode on the Patreon, that will tell you like how this thing it was moving in and out of like physicality. You know what I mean? It was for all intents and purposes, a bull-headed creature, like a minotaur. But this creature he says, I thought I had seen the Shik. I thought the Shik was basically like this wolf-headed creature. He goes, these things were not like the Shik. They were not. Absolutely. He said, dude, these things were something more akin to, and I don't want to mess this up, but the Marid. The Marid is basically a type of Djinn that is based on the water. And the guys that he was working with, one of them was from Kazakhstan. And he was former military, the Russian military, and in the Kazakh military. He had cross-trained. They trained him and all this stuff. He'd fought in Afghanistan. And he basically was a mercenary. He told him, he says, dude, I've encountered these creatures. He goes, we call them the whip dogs. The Belgian soldiers there had told him, he says, you got to be careful. These whip dogs, there's like 2 or 3 of them. He goes, this is what he told him. This is what he said. One of the Belgian troops, right, told him. He said when they were in the Congo, they encountered these whip dogs. One of the things he said that they could do is they would vibrate, and then they would become 2 or 3. Yeah. He said, now, the first one would be big and massive, and then when it would shake, it would shrink down in size. The mass would just split off into 2 or 3 creatures. Now, sometimes they would look like they only had half of a face, or they would be missing something, but they would still move around. But it was almost like a computer glitching, the way he described it, right? Get this. There is a type of Djinn that actually matches that. It's called a Nasnus. Now, what this creature is, it resembles a half human, half animal hybrid, right? But it's missing a limb, or it's one-eyed. You know, you remember the other day when he was a Jewish guy who came on the show on Monday, and it was Joel. Was it this Monday? I think it was this Monday, wasn't it?
So.
But Joel was talking about seeing this creature that climbed up the wall, and it was one-eyed, and it moved like a spider, right? That would be a Nasnus. Now, what this creature is, crazy creature, dude. These things will have like one eye, or they'll have like half of a mouth. It's a weird creature.
Like incomplete or something.
The reason is because this other creature spawned it off. It's really just an aspect of it. But we can't comprehend it because that thing will have its own, like just how you could create a tulpa or an egregore, right? Mm-hmm. This thing spits off a piece of itself and it becomes its own entity. But a lot of times it's incomplete. So that's what this Belgian soldier was in the Congo when he was, there during the Civil War. He's like, dude, I was getting reports of course, there's a Civil War there every week, but I mean, during one of them. And he said, I was getting reports from my soldiers of giant man-eating spiders and of these creatures that were vibrating and splitting apart, and they looked like werewolves. He goes, on closer inspection, they looked a little more like hyenas, but they could vibrate. Now, Meki was up on the top tier of this little dam that they were building. It was little as compared to the size of this thing. And he said, dude, we were by this one little village, and down below that village, they were moving it so they could clear it for the water, so they could move the water into it like an irrigation, whatever. He's like, I was walking up on this scaffolding, like a big tall one. He said, I see this creature. I was using NVGs. He goes, and I saw this thing that looked like a creature running. He goes, in the middle of its forehead was one eye, and it was more over to one side. And he couldn't tell me if it was left or right. He goes, I don't remember. He goes, and I thought, I'm using these, these NVGs. He goes, and I couldn't. I was like, maybe it's the Nogs. I don't know. So he lifted him up, and he was looking with his eyes, and he didn't see anything. So he'd go back and he'd look, and it was just right there. He could see it with the night vision, but he couldn't see it by the light of the moon.
Yeah.
He goes, and then he took the NVGs off, and he went to the guy there's another guy that's further down, and he goes, so I go running down the other side, and the guy, I kicked the guard check because the guy's asleep, and he goes, and I'm like, come here. He goes, and I give him to him, and it's this Nigerian guy, and he goes, and he looks through him, and he's like, what am I looking at? He goes, look, man, there is something there. It looks like a dog, and it's staring at us. He goes, and it was just down like this on all fours, right? He goes, and its head was down, and it was looking up at us. He goes, and I could tell there was like one eye, but it wasn't, when you stared at it, when it got closer, you could see that one of the eyes was kind of like bulging out to become like a second eye, but they were all together kind of more on one side of the head. So it was very deformed. Yeah. And then on the side of its mouth, the teeth were sticking out on one side. They were sticking straight out, like its mouth was turned. It was this bizarre, ugly creature. He said that Nigerian guy got on the radio, and he said something in Fulani he doesn't understand. And this other Nigerian guy runs up there, and he's all like, he goes, no. He goes, this is a Djinn. This is the Djinn. He goes, do not look at this thing. Do not acknowledge it. So then this dude takes his little necklace and starts praying and doing all this crap. And Meki's just like, dude, what is this? He didn't really follow the Sufi teachings, and he goes, I'm sitting there thinking, I wish I would have, because then I would know a little more about what this is. He's like, and I'm thinking, man, I wish my grandfather was here with me, About an hour later, he goes, they walked away. The thing moved off into some foliage, and it was gone. That area where they're at by the water, there's kind of foresty area, and then it becomes a desert again, right? He's like, that creature disappeared. He goes, and on my break, he goes, I called my grandfather. He's like, my grandfather's brother was a cleric, for the Sufi Muslim people. And he knew all about this. So I called my grandfather, and I says, hey, I think I just saw one of these, the Shik, or, whatever. And so his grandfather, when he described it to him, he says, no, that's a Nasnus. He goes, that thing probably came from, or my word, spawned off of another creature. So there could have been a Shik there, but it probably came from one of those other ones. And he goes, and you better hope that it wasn't a Marit, because that thing is something that lives off of the water. Apparently, these creatures, though, they're all part of they're a subgroup of a creature we call the Shaitan. The Shaitan is basically like that's another word for Satan. That's what they are. These are Satan. These are the evil Djinn hellspawn creatures. They're awful. Some of them come from within the earth, some of them come from the water, and some of them are hybrids, elementals from earth and water. That is what this creature is. I do believe that's what it is. This one here that he saw, this was no sorcerer shape-shifting. This was something that's, I believe, is an elemental, and they dig holes. A couple days later, he's on patrol. They have a little, basically a weaponized golf cart. And he goes, and we're driving around, and outside of this, it's like it's an ATV golf carty type thing,
Yeah.
It's like an ATV, but with smaller wheels. And he goes, and we're driving around, and he goes, and one of the guards, gets a call on the radio, and he says, hey, man, there's 4 of these whip dogs. And it was a British guy. There's all these international people. There's, the private sector.
Yeah.
So he goes, we go over there, and the British dude, and there's like this, the wind is real bad. And he goes, and he's got this scarf over his face. And he goes, his goggles were, he goes, I get there and I'm just like, I'm choking. I'm trying to breathe. He goes, and I'm putting my face up and we're trying to have a conversation here. And he says, look, he goes, there's 4 of them. We need to take them out. We need to kill them because they've attacked 2 people from the village and they took off with a child. So they had literally, and Maki told me, he says, you would not believe how many people die out there from these creatures. He's like, if this was happening in the United States or somewhere in the West, you'd be hearing about it all over the news. He goes, over here, it happens all the time and nobody cares. They're just like, oh, a hyena grabbed a child. You wouldn't believe the numbers, man. There's like 146 people in that region a year on average die from hyenas.
Jeez.
That's a lot.
It's like
So,
almost every other day.
I don't think it's a freaking hyena. No, I don't. I think it's these creatures. So he says, dude, we get in our vehicles and we head over there, and these 2 Brits, they jump out and they're like, there they are right there. He goes, I hadn't pulled the trigger on my weapon the whole time I was in Africa. I had not had to shoot or kill anything. He's like, and I just started firing. There were 4 of them. He goes, I'll never forget when you hit them. He's like, you had to hit them just above the neck when their head would lower and they would charge at you. He's like, and their tail whips around. He goes, and that's these creatures because they look kind of like a dog, like a blackish brown dog, but the tail whips around like it's a spike. It's just like a real, the way he described it was almost like a cat-like prehensile tail that just becomes like a spear on the end of its body. He goes, but the most disturbing thing, he goes, I could possibly ever imagine. He's like, one of them stood up. He's like, when it stood up, he goes, I froze in place. And the Fulani that I was with, he's like, what are you doing? He's like, he just kept firing. He's like, I started firing my weapon. We took this creature down. We were armed with AK-47s. He's like, 7.62 round. It's a potent round. It took 3 of them down, and they were dead. They were gone. The 4th one got away. And it had absconded with someone's goat. They were in the process of slaughtering like 3 goats that they had grabbed and taken out away from the human population. He goes, we're out in the middle of nowhere. He goes, and another weird thing about it was when we were trying to kill these things, the wind and the dust was just going crazy. It was blowing into our faces. He goes, it was getting into my mouth, under my goggles, in my freaking ears. He goes, dude, I was, not to sound crass, but I was shitting dirt for, it was terrible. He's like, I had it in my mouth so bad. He goes, my mouth was crusted with mud. Oh. He goes, I had to pour water on my face. He goes, and then when we shot these things and the 4th one ran off into the woods, he's like, that was it. He goes, the wind stopped. It was done. He's like, he goes, I took my scarf down. I lifted up my goggles. I walk over to where these creatures were. Everybody was like, hey, be careful. Don't approach these things. Be careful. Everybody's telling me. He goes, there's 6 of us. He goes, one of them kind of moves. The tail moves. I shoot it again. And I told him, I said, what did it look like up close? He goes, well, we blew their heads off almost completely. You couldn't get a real good look at the head. He's like, but the body was muscular. He goes, and they were blackish brown. He goes, like I said, they were black, but they had these spots on them, kind of like brownish spots. Whereas a hyena would be like brown with black spots. He goes, this thing was black with like little splotches of brown, almost brindle, the way he described it, right?
Yeah.
And when he started describing the head looks kind of like a mastiff or a canaris. They don't look wolf-like, and they don't look like hyenas totally. These things look like something else. He goes, and the tail. He goes, Wolf, the tail was unbelievable. He's like, so I wanted to cut one of the tails off. And he goes, and those Fulani were like, no. He goes, don't take anything from it. Don't take photos, don't do anything. We got to burn it. And so they get this guy that comes out, this Darfurian guy that lives in that region, and he says this little prayer. He gets on his knees, and he stands up, and he lights these things on fire. He's like, and I'm going to tell you something. When they burned, it smelled like diesel and sulfur. He said it was horrible. He goes, and it was like some kind of weird chemical, and you could hear this popping noise. He goes, and then I saw green going up into the sky, like going straight up. He goes, and I heard the most awful noise. He goes, to this day, he goes, I remember it. He goes, and it sounded like something going, like it was this weird noise. Like if somebody like yawned really loud. Mm-hmm. This is his words, right? And he said, and then added a scream, and it just kept going like, oh, like that. This is what he was doing on the phone, and I'm going like, holy shit. Now, having worked with this guy and known him for years, and he told me, he goes, get ready, I'm going to tell you some crazy shit. I've known this guy since like 2002, something like that. So it's been a long time I've known this guy, 23 years, a long time to know somebody.
Yeah.
I don't doubt him because he's never told me anything crazy other than like, there was some shit in those places that we worked at. He said there were Djinn there. Nothing like this. He had never told me anything like this, but he was a believer. He knew better. He's like, I knew that they were real. I knew this was real. He goes, and when we got back inside, he goes, we were all sitting in the control room at the base of this thing. It was on the bottom floor. He's like, we were sitting there on the northeast side of Lake Chad. He's like, I was going, what the fuck did we just do? He goes, everybody else is acting like, oh, well, this is just something we do.
Yeah.
He goes, there was one guy there. He was not accustomed to it. He wasn't used to it. He was a Spaniard. He's like, but he was like, I've been all over Africa and I've seen some weird shit. So, I mean, this is just par for the course. And he's just like asking everybody, he's like, is this normal? Like, he goes, I've heard of these things, but there again, Mackay actually came to the United States when he was 3, and he didn't go back to visit until he was 13 because of the war. Mm-hmm. Right. And then he grew up here and he would just go back and forth, back and forth. Now, here's what happened. After he had these encounters with these creatures, he didn't see them again. He had no more interactions with these creatures. They moved him to the south end of the project where really wasn't that bad. It was more desert, and if you looked out, you could see for miles, so there really wasn't anything that could ambush you. These creatures like to hang out near the fertile part of the lake. They weren't going into the desert. The legend is that the reason that they don't go into the desert is because there's something even worse out there. There is this creature we were talking about earlier, the marid, right? And this thing is something that comes out of the lake, and it has literally different descriptions of it, right? The most common description of it was when it's in water, it's like a black ball of sludge with tentacles. And it has a huge mouth that resembles a shark. Mm. When it grabs you, it puts you in its mouth, you're dead. But when it comes out onto the land, it's not helpless. It changes shape and it becomes a 4-legged creature with weird eyes. And sometimes there's multiple eyes like a spider, like 4 to 8 eyes. And it moves around like a spider, but on usually 4 to 6 limbs. Very weird, this creature. This is one of the descriptions of these things, and that is a type of Djinn. Now, what this thing does, though, is even more heinous because there is another type of Djinn that lives in the desert. And, of course, you have the Botunjin, this weird creature. Let me get the notes here. The Botunjin. The Botunjin is another one. It's a weird creature that lives in that weird region of the desert, and it prowls around in packs, sometimes solitary, sometimes in packs. And sometimes they will team up with a marid. But some people believe that the marid is so powerful that it controls these sorcerers in these packs. And it'll be seen behind them, like putting off this weird glow or like a fire. Like, because Djinn are made of smokeless flame. And these sorcerers, or these dogmen, if you want to call them that, will go out in frenzy Now, it's not 100% known by anybody but the practitioner what their deal is. Maybe they have made a deal with this Marid, or maybe they are subject to it. I don't know. Or they're just teaming up to commit terror. We don't know the whole whatever. There's different legends, different stories. But this creature is found all around Lake Chad, this Marid. And what they say is that it will go and it will dig down into the desert sand. And no matter what comes across it, it will jump up and grab it and pull it down and eat it. It sounds very much like this Ziriquai, whatever creature from Mozambique that does the same thing. And there again, it hangs out near water. Now, here's the question. Do these creatures inhabit the area around water because there's more prey there? Maybe that's what it is. Or are they actually deriving power from the water, as the myths of the Arabic people tell? Them and the what do you call them? The people from the, oh God. Oh man, I hate when I can't remember a name. I know a lot of them too. One of our people that works for them, he's one of them. They're not Arabs. They live in the Saharan region.
Oh, okay. No, I was gonna say Jews. That's not it.
They're dang it. They're Moroccan. They're Tunisian. I wish somebody in the chat would help me here. One of the people that works for us, he's one.
He's working tonight. Brahim. Berber.
Berber, yeah. Thanks for saying his name. Berber. They're Berber. The Berbers and the Bedouins, two different things, right? Somebody says Berber, yeah. Bedouins, yeah, that too. But the Berber people have a real fervent belief in this. It predates Islam by probably 1,000 years. In fact, I'm sure it goes back to the Chaldeans and the Carthaginians. They believe in these creatures in the desert, and that these things will come up and swallow. And in fact, there is an Arabic legend, right? This goes back to the Shams al-Mararif. This book, right, was written by this guy. The guy that wrote that book tells a legend, a story of Saladin's army, part of them being swallowed up in Tunisia while they were waiting to fight Richard the Lionheart during the Crusades. Part of his army was sucked down by these creatures. And they believe that these creatures were sent by, the Shaitan, by Iblis himself, to stop them. Well, the funny thing is, if Iblis did it to them, he definitely did it to the Christians too, because Richard the Lionheart lost people same way. By the time that they met in Jerusalem for one of their famous battles right outside of the holy city, part of their armies had been decimated, not just by thirst and hunger and the wasteland that they were in, because it is a wasteland, let's be honest, but by the predation of these creatures, these Djinn-like monsters that were coming up out of the sand. And they had all these different names for them. I mean, there's a whole bevy of names and different types of descriptions. Aharit, the Efreet, you name it. There were all these different things. And they were preying upon the men, killing their horses, eating them alive. The Europeans were calling them werewolves. And of course, the Arabic people and the Bedouins and the Berbers, they knew what they were. And they were describing them as these hyena creatures, the Botinjan. They were like, that's what they are. They're destroying our armies. They're killing and eating people. I mean, this is something that is talked about, especially in the books there. A friend of mine lives in Dubai. I just several of my friends do and work there. And one of them was telling me that there's a library there where you can go and look all this stuff up digitally. And there are books upon books upon books written in Arabic about these creatures that you don't get in the West. An entire library there. He's actually Russian, but he speaks Arabic. Well, he speaks several languages. Genius. He's one of those, like, not to be mean, but 7:30 Jeopardy in Russian.
No, yeah.
I always tease him. I'm like, dude,
savants.
Yeah, and so he's kind of like that, but he gets real, like, he's like, Wolf, you should go there. You should go there and you should read. There's so many things you would love it. There's a blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't read Arabic. I struggle with it. That in Hebrew I'm trying. I'm still learning. But the case in point, a lot of this stuff though has been translated into French, right? Because the French colonized a lot of the African countries and the Arabic countries. There was a lot of French influence there. So whenever you talk about these creatures, though, people always like tense up if they're from those regions. They're just like, uh-oh. It's very much like the natives when you talk about the skinwalker, or the Mexicans when you talk about La Llorona. Because they start looking around like, uh-oh, you're going to conjure it up, right? That's what people believe. Well, I have a different belief. I'm very strong in my faith. I think this stuff's around us all the time. Like we're living in the ocean, and these are spirits that are like fish. They're around. You just got to be careful, and you got to be protected. And I believe that. That's my belief. People don't have to agree with it. If you don't want to agree with it, don't agree with it. What happened to Mackay? He says, look, I can introduce you to about half a dozen people who have stories of the Botinyan. They can tell you. They have interacted with these creatures. They have been attacked by these creatures. He goes, I met so many people over there who just live in absolute terror of these creatures. And in one particular village, well, it's not a village. Let me make sure I don't butcher the name of this place. It's a town. Well, it's not real big, but it's a town, and it's called Mengalme. Mengalme, that place at one time was targeted very heavily by a pack of these Botinyan. There was a guy I talked to named Karim, not Kareem. There's actually two people. You might get kind of confused. One of them is Kareem. We will talk about his story on one of the members only shows later on down the road. This guy's name is Karim. Karim is a different person. He was somebody that worked with Meki at the Lake Chad. He has seen three different things. He has seen the Shik, he has seen the Botinyan, and he has seen these whip dogs. The whip dog, now, he breaks it down for me. I talked to Karim. Karim is a really cool guy. He works at a power plant. I'm not going to get into the whole thing out here in Texas, but we had a conversation. This guy's smart. He's an engineer. He's not a stupid guy, but when he was young, he paid the bills by being a merc. One of the things that Karim told me, he says, dude, you wouldn't believe and Karim, just so you know, he's from South Sudan. He's a Christian. But he tells me, he says, you wouldn't believe the different places I've been, how much fear these creatures. He's like, not Islamic, but understanding and having read the Quran, and part of his family on his mother's side is Islamic. He's like, my uncle is Islamic. He goes, and it's horrible. He goes, civil war. It's brother against brother. And that literally happened. His mom's brother fought a battle against his dad. Can you imagine that? What that would be like? And his uncle lost his life.
Dang.
Yeah. Brutal stuff. When he's talking to me, and this guy's very no nonsense, and he just tells me, he goes, you would not believe how many people live in fear of these things. He goes, when I was near Lake Chad, now I was on the south side of Lake Chad. He's like, and I was in the Chadian area, because Lake Chad borders. It's not just. See if I can get the picture here. Do you have a map of Lake Chad?
Yeah. I have
Pull it up. Can you pull it up on the show?
Yeah.
Or pull it up on your phone?
Yeah. Right here.
Let me see if I can take a look at it here.
It's in like Western Chad, Eastern.
Okay, that's not a good map. I can't use that. I need something that's going to show the different countries, so you'll get an idea and you can look it up yourself. So Lake Chad is in between a country called Niger and Chad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the border there between Sudan, you can see it right there, how it looks. This little area right here, right there, that's that area that is Sudan. Basically, this whole that red right there is the Lake Chad Basin, is what they call it. That's the Chadian Basin. You got yeah. I got it. I already showed them. Same thing. But if you look at the map, you can see that part of Western Sudan is inside the Lake Chad Basin. So you have this like fertile region there, right? Around that area. Now, if you go further down, you'll hit Nigeria to the west, and then directly down from there is Cameroon, and they've all had tons of wars and tons of other crap that's gone on. It's nuts. And then up to the north is Libya, and Libya has always been a shit show too. I mean, no offense to these countries, but dude, it's just a mess. War creates poverty. Poverty creates desperation and hunger. And these, my opinion, these demons, they feed on these people because the desperation and the hunger, they don't have any hope. So what do? They turn to the dark side. My opinion, I believe that that's just a breeding ground for this. And I just think that that's what it is. When you listen to this guy's story, Karam tells me, he says, he goes, I was there in the south of Lake Chad. He goes, in that region, and there's like a river that's an offshoot of it down there. Let me look it up real quick. And I'll give you if I can get a good map here, I can show you. Maybe I can show you So if you look at that map right there, you see all that blue coming down out of there? That's all these different like rivers and tributaries and whatever the hell that comes off of Lake Chad. Okay. So he was working down there in the south of Lake Chad. See if you can look up the rivers, Anthony. And I got the names.
One of them is called the
Nagata,
Chari River.
the Chari, and then there's the El Bad, whatever, the Lagoon, whatever. That's the one we're going to focus on, though. Okay, so the Lagoon River, which is one of the ones that goes all the way down, it goes past the Mandara Mountains. Let's see if I can find the other map. Here it is. Right? Oh, God, my phone just jumped. Anyways, it goes all the way down into Cameroon. It just goes all the way down. It just keeps going. The Lagoon River, that river is where he was at, but he was at the mouth of it, the north of it, where it comes down from the lake. Now, this isn't a really deep lake. I think that I read that it was like 10, 11 feet, on average. It's not a deep, deep lake, but it's big and it's huge. And I believe that it comes from the Nubian Basin. Like a lot of people don't believe that. They don't think that it connects. I do. I believe that the Nubian Sandstone Basin is bigger and deeper than you could possibly imagine. I believe that it encompasses most of North Africa. And I have another weird belief, and people are going to argue with me all day about this. I think it's connected to the underworld. And I don't mean the underworld as in like, the movies, the stupid movies. I'm talking about the inner earth. I believe that Nubian Basin is not just water for everybody in the desert. I believe it was part of like the inner earth at one time was up here. Like we were right here. Like this was like, it's going to sound kind of Lords of the Rings sound, but Middle Earth. It was kind of like they were together. And I think that Nubian Basin was part of the ocean. But I think it was a fresh water that was inside of the salt water. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it just kind of flowed. And I think eventually it separated and it kind of fell off the salt water and it went down into the earth. Because at one time, I think that the oceans weren't just all salted like they are now. It sounds nuts, I know. But if you were to listen to some people about the Tartarian and all that, and you would realize that this world has been terraformed many, many times. And that's why a lot of things are buried. People are going to argue with me. I know. I have a friend who's a biologist. We argue. I have a friend who's a microbiologist. I call him Nino. We've talked about him before. He argues with me. Says that I'm not a scientist and he knows, but yet he doesn't know shit about geology. I have a friend. She's a geologist. Another friend's an archaeologist. I argue with all of them. And they all say the same thing. You're not such and such, but yet they don't know shit about those other fields. Right? So you self-educate. They're going to tell you, well, it's pseudoscience. Guess what else is pseudoscience? Christianity. When you talk about the science of the Bible, they call it pseudoscience. That is a word that they coined to use to make you believe that you don't know shit. And only people who have gone to college and been indoctrinated with bullshit, they know what they're talking about. There's a lot of people that don't like me. There's a lot of people that I had a guy, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say we were friends. We're not really friends now because of his beliefs. And I'm smart. I know the truth. He is what we call a retard. He calls me up talking shit, yelling and screaming. And like, because he works on the oil field and he is a scientist, he told me that he knows everything about everything. Literally in the middle of talking with this guy, we had an argument. He goes, well, I know everything about everything. I think what he was trying to say was he knows a lot about a lot of things, but really and truly, he just said what he really believes. He knows everything about everything. You're full of shit and you listen to CNN too much. That's my opinion on you. I'm not going to say your name because you are smart, but you're also dumb as shit. I'm not going to, we're not going to get into it. This is the kind of guy that you could have 10 people walk up and tell him, hey, man, I saw an angel. He would still refuse to believe in God.
Yeah.
This guy will not believe, what matter what. When they send Hell's Gates and his ass is burning, I mean, part of me wants to go, haha, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to celebrate somebody's, but I just want to see the look on your face. That's what I say. And I'm not trying to be ugly or mean, but I would still reach into hell to grab you and pull you out if I could, because I don't want anybody to burn. Even my enemies, my most bitter enemies that hate my guts and curse my name, who are watching me right now and clipping this to try to make me look like a Looney Tune. I love you. And I pray for you every day. Every day I pray for you. And I pray that God changes your heart. We pray for you today as a group. We pray that God changes your heart and you become a decent person and stop being a cyber stalker. Besides that, I'm really not worth it. Let's just put it that way. Because like everybody says, I'm a quack. Look, see the duck on my shirt? I'm a quack.
Quackpot.
I'm a quackpot. I'm just making up science, pseudoscience to support what I'm talking about. So anyways, here's what happens. He's down at Lake, what's it called again? Lagoon. He's down at Lake Lagoon. He's trying to work with these field operators who are trying to build this kind of offshoot, whatever, to help these villagers get water. Because where they used to live, they dammed up that part of the river where they were at, and they quit letting them have the water. It's war, folks, everywhere you go. And so that goes back to a civil war that happened, and that those people were ostracized, whatever. Not to talk bad about a certain group of people, but once again, Islamic extremists were involved in doing what they did, okay? Like I said, people get upset. They say I talk bad about Jewish people or I talk bad about Islamic people. I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody. I'm just spitting out straight facts of what is what. And people said I've attacked Christians too. And I've attacked pagans and all kinds of whatever. If you're one of those groups that has been attacked or feels like they've been attacked, call 1-800-EAT-SHIT. That's what I feel about that. But we're going to move on. Exactly, Bernard, my brother from another mother. Truth is truth, right? We're not here to sugarcoat stuff, and I don't care. If you feel like you've been attacked, you probably have. Here's the thing. When he was down there, he says, that's the first time I encountered what they called the whip dogs. These dogs, they look like they had no fur. He goes, it was like their skin. The way he described them, too, was very much like Makai's description. He said, dude, their skin looked like it was black and that somebody spray painted brown spots on them. He goes, it was ugly, weird. He goes, and I got to look at one up close before we burned it. Because if you don't burn these suckers and you could blow half their head off into hamburger meats. What he told me, he said, but if you don't burn them, they'll come back to life. Really said that to me. And I said, Karam, are you serious? Like these things will come back to life. Are you sure they're just not dead? He goes, Wolf, these are not animals, dude. He goes, these are animated. And this is the word he used. And this struck a chord with me. He said, these are animated flesh. And I said, ooh, so like a vessel. This is a vessel. He goes, yes, like a vessel, like you're like a body. He goes, those are demons inside of those. He goes, and these things, I 100% believe, are genetically created. He said, we didn't have legends of these things. These things are a 20th century thing that started back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. We started seeing these things. He's like, the first time we saw them, there was a contingent of these scientists who had come with these soldiers. And there were Europeans and Asians there. People that didn't belong there. They didn't look like me. They weren't these sub-Saharan African people, and they weren't Saharan African people. They didn't look like us, and what Karam is basically, if you see the guy, he's curly haired. He looks like a mixture of Arabic and black. That's what he looks, right? So it's weird. He goes, these people show up. Who the hell are they? There's Chinese people, there's Russians, and there's Korean, I think North Korean. But he goes, it was weird. And there were some Iranians because they were all there, and there was some kind of experiment. Something happened, and they used some of that land. They leased some of the land around Lake Chad from the Chaldean government. Next thing you know, we have these dogs, these whip dogs, and now they're all over the place. They're in Sudan. He's like, they're in Cameroon in the north, and they're in Niger. What they are is anybody's guess. The average person, he told me, this is his words too. He says the average Muslim in the area can't read or write above a 5th grade, whatever. He said, and that's probably being kind. And he said, so they're ignorant. So they're going to go to their cleric, and the cleric's not going to have an excuse. He's just going to say it's a Shik.
Mm-hmm.
It's a type of Djinn. We don't know. It's a marid, But is that really what this is? What are we dealing with here? He goes, I saw one, and it took 4 of us just blasting the hell out of it, and then we lit it on fire. I asked him this. I said, when Makai told me that he had encountered these things in the north, they burned them. They smelled, before I finished my sentence, he says, yeah, they smell like sulfur, like something rancid. Sulfur, like sulfuric. His exact words, he goes, if you took diesel fuel and mixed it with a fart. That's what he said. He said, dude, when you burn trash, that's what they smell like. It's like an evil smell. It's like the Djinn, that smell they have. It's horrible. He said it was a terrible thing. These creatures, he said, not only have they taken over that area of the Bangan River, he said, but that region, that whole valley right there, between the Chari and the Lagoon, he said it's covered with these creatures. You can't go out there and run around and do stuff because they'll attack you. He goes, and they have this tail that just whips around, it just moves around. And I asked him about them standing up. He goes, I've heard of them standing up. He goes, the one I saw did not stand up. Here again, he said, when I was a teenager, we saw a Shik. It looked like it was winged at first. It was running, and it looked like it had wings, but we realized that it was the arms. The arms were out, and it was like a shadow. We were all like out there, we were playing ping pong. He's like, we had a ping pong table. Everybody likes to play ping pong out there. He's like, this thing turns, it looks at us, turns. He's like, and then I realized that the arms were out, and it was like huge, like lats, huge traps. And this thing, when it turned and faced us, it went from being almost like a 2-dimensional, like something running across a computer screen, to turning and looking like a fully 3-dimensional being. He goes, I believe it was coming into our world. This is what he said.
Yeah.
He said, and there was a green mist around it. And it looked like it walked through a tear or a hole. When he said that, I stopped him and I said, Karam, I know you're Christian, but you have some Muslim background. I was like, in the Quran, what that green is. And he's like, no, what is it? And I said, do you know where the Jinn are from? And he goes, the Kaf. That is, yes, the Green Mountains that they come out of. So many times, and I went over this with multiple authors and different people, David Weatherly, Linda Godfrey, multiple people. I've heard, what's her name, talk about it too, Rosemary Ellen Galley, God rest her soul, and of course, Linda Godfrey is deceased too, but we've talked about this, the green mist, this green haze, and there's some other authors too that if they're being truthful, we talked about it too. I'm not going to mention their names because they're not worth it. But these people, they've told me, that they've gotten stories from people where these things, it's like this green whatever.
Yeah.
Where they come from is called the Kaf. And it is a green mist that surrounds it. It's a mountains where they live. And it's even weirder. The hadiths tell you, hey, they have neighbors. They're not alone. You're not just dealing with the Djinn. The Djinn is one dimension of stuff. There's another one right next to them. And they're even weirder. And it just gets weirder. Here is what I'm going to tell you. When you look at this objectively, like you just do it, like just reading, getting the facts, whatever, you couldn't even, if you just took all of your creativity, imagination, and don't let your mind wander, just go with what they're telling you, you're going to get like, I don't know how to say it, like so much information that stacks up from all these different people, from all these different sources, from all these different books. It's saying the same thing. It's a fact. It becomes a fact when 100 people are telling you, this is what I saw. There are books and books and books about it, but they want to keep you ignorant here in the West. I'm telling everybody, look to the East, not for some crackpot, what's it called? These people that want to become religious.
Western
I'm not talking
about Hinduism and Buddhism.
Yeah, this what is it called? New Age bullshit. I'm not talking about the New Age shit. Okay. I'm talking about facts. I'm not talking about, yeah, man, we're going to all be one. Bullshit. You ain't all going to be one. We're all going to be whatever. Look, this is what I'm telling you. The facts, the information that's coming from there is giving us more insight than anywhere else in the world. The people that are in charge, and I keep beating this drum, they are determined to keep all of these places destabilized and effed up. Because if they ever got straight, you would learn the history, the true history of the civilizations of mankind. You would know a lot. You would learn if all these countries that have all this knowledge and all they do is fight and kill and destroy based on religions, a couple in particular that cause a lot of problems. There are so many things that we are losing and missing out on where Jesus says we die for lack of knowledge. You know what they're doing? They're cutting the knowledge off. When they destabilize these regions, it's a multi-pronged thing. You keep them weak, you keep them down, and you rise up. You also keep them from transferring the knowledge that they have about you. When you're the bad guy, you don't want people knowing the history of you and your people. Yeah, so you keep these people messed up. You keep them effed up, right? That's what these two, in particular, two religions do. They cause a lot of problems, destabilizing everything. They keep everybody at each other's throats. So nobody ever looks at the truth of who and what they are. Nobody looks at the truth of who and what is running this world. How could you even know? If you can't even figure out the people that are being puppeteered by these demons, how would you even know who these demons are? And much less the bloodlines of these demons. And it's weird. There was a guy, I saw a video today, and he was over there, very good video of a Bigfoot. You could see this Bigfoot behind these trees. And when it would lift its head up, you could see the eyes. It was Boise Bigfoot photo, right? This guy, and he was over there going, hey, guy. He's trying to talk to this thing like it's a dog. He's trying to talk to it like it's some kind of pet, like it's a pet monkey or something. You could see the evil in that thing's eyes. When that thing, I don't think it was a real photo. I think it was a real video.
Yeah.
That thing looked demonic. It had the gray, ashen face, and it looked like, I wish I could just come out there and eat you, but you're videoing me with people. This thing, like, totally 100%. And he goes, oh, my camera's glitching up, huh? You're making my camera glitch. I wonder why. Why do you wonder why, you dumbass? You know why I want? Because that thing is part demon. It's not all demon, but it's part demon. You know why? Because it's got a demonic Nephilim bloodline that goes back to the Archons and their children. The Fallen, the Anunnaki, the Archon, whatever you want to call them. Just pick a name. And there were multiple levels of these creatures, multiple levels. They weren't all from the same place either, but they all ended up on Earth, didn't they? That's what people don't understand. When you start going down that rabbit hole, you start to get into what really is a Bigfoot, what really is an alien, what is a demon, and what kind of demons are there? There's all these different kinds. Maybe because they're not all originally from one bloodline, because there were multiple watchers. And who's to say the watchers weren't all one species? What if there was a contingent of them, just like these people came from these 4 or 5 different countries and let these whip dogs loose? What if that happened with the watchers? What if they were different types of angels? Angels being some type of, interdimensional. That's the thing. You don't know. Why do you think there were so many different types of these Nephilim? Because they didn't all have the same dads. There were 200 of them. 200 different bloodlines. Some of them may have looked like giant humans. Some of them look like mantises. Some of them look like reptiles. You know where I'm going with this. Mm-hmm. Do you understand now what I'm telling you? And like most groups, they play nice because they have to, not because they want to. Each one of them wants to take the other one down and be the top dog. That's the goal to all of these beings, because there's no loyalty. If they'll turn their back on God, what do you think they'll do to you? Look at some of these people in these religions I was talking about. They'll kill each other and assassinate each other like it's nothing. What do you think they would do to you? A genocide is nothing to them. It's nothing. They commit it every day for whatever infraction or reasons they have. And I'm not talking about just one people. There's several of them. They do these things and they destabilize. But the The real power behind it is demonic. It's satanic. It's the shaitan, the Hashatan, actually. And you know what their goal is? To cut you off from God. Their goal is to cut you off from the one thing that can get you to God and end this war, this spiritual war. That's us going to Christ. He takes us out. You're given free will, like all these people are. When you are cut off from the source, when you are cut off from God, you're cut off from knowledge. You die in ignorance and sin. I'm not here trying to preach and make this into a preaching, but this is a teaching moment. I've heard many of my colleagues say things like that, and I don't like using other people's words, but it's the truth. This is what this is. When you are cut off from that, when you are in ignorance, you die in ignorance and you die in sin, because the magic word is ignorance, death. You have no connection to God. That's what they want. Because when you're in the afterlife, and so many people will tell you this isn't true, and they are full of shit. There is a purgatorial type state. There's a heaven and there's many hells. Believe me. You can be used as a battery. What do you think a ghost is? Take it from somebody who studied this for decades. Decades. I've been doing this since I was a teenager. And let me tell you something. Absolutely, there are disembodied human spirits. Not all of them are masquerading as spirits of the deceased, but they do that. The demons will absolutely trick you. Play with a Ouija board, demon comes, right? Mm-hmm. It happens. That's what yesterday's show was on Patreon. Go listen to it. It's very telling. This is what happens. These are demons. Different types, but they're demons. But not all spirits are demons. No. There's a confusion there, and that's where they're able to slip in and lie and deceive, and you can't get to the bottom of it because you get 5 thieves together and you try to get them to tell you what stole what. Guess what? All thieves and murderers are what?
Liars.
Liars. It's like this. Not all liars are murderers and thieves, but liars, murderers and thieves have to be liars too.
Yeah.
Because if you go up and say, "Did you kill that guy?" Well, yes, I did. In fact, let me tell you how I did it. Yeah. That's not going to happen.
I'm a murderer, but not a liar.
When you start the job.
Do what?
It's like your name tag when you start the job.
Yeah. So you got the murderer. He's going to lie. You got the cheater. He's going to lie. You got the all of them. They're all going to be liars. That's at the base of it all, right? They think about it like, how am I going to get away with this? Well, I'm going to lie my ass off because that's what they do. So a murderer is going to be a liar too. A thief, 100% is going to lie. Did you steal those rims? No, I did not. Why are they on your car? I would like to talk to you about a horse I used to own, ma'am.
No, they're going to be like, yes, I stole them, but at least I didn't lie about it. Yeah. I may steal your eyeballs out of your head, but I'll never lie about it. I have standards. It doesn't happen.
I'm a serial killing murderer, but I'm not racist.
You have to understand, officer. I found them on this vehicle that was obviously abandoned with the guy inside.
Driving.
And he
was asleep.
His vessel was abandoned too. He was no longer alive.
There was demons in there.
Yeah.
He was in there listening to Paranoid Rat Turd, also known as Paranormal Round at the Table. He starts going on a long tirade about how much he hates Josh Turner and PRT. Yeah. And the police officer's like, "Look, Larry, I don't have time for this. Who are you again? What is this? Lawman, law dog? What were you calling yourself? Put your hands behind your back. Okay, I don't have time for this." He starts trying to text. If you go to my text, you'll see it. You'll see it. He wears the Leviathan. Look at it. Who are you again? This is weird. Why did you steal? Why are you a liar? I don't understand.
It's a very valid point, Tracy. They're on the car, so the car obviously stole them.
The car stole it.
Exactly.
So, anyways, point being, I talked to this guy, Karam, and Karam tells me, he says, "Look, man," he's like, "I've seen these creatures." And he saw this Shik thing too. It looks like a 2-dimensional deal, and then it turned the one he saw. Now, I'm not telling you that everyone that sees that sees the same thing. They don't. But it is weird that Mackie decided to tell me that maybe this stuff is coming from an alternate reality. Finally, he came around to what I was telling him. And I said, Mac, I told you this way back when we were working together at the parking garage. And he's like, "No, I don't remember us talking about that." We did. Trust me. I remember when we talked about Jerry's experience at the range out there in Fort Hood. We talked about these things possibly being from an interdimensional whatever source, because what he saw looked like a shadow until it came into the moonlight. Here's another thing about Jerry's experience. He goes, when I saw the left side of this creature, he's like, you could see the ear. By the light of the moon, he goes, I could have swore I could see through it. You know, those buildings, they were cement, they had bullet holes in them. He's like, I could see a bullet hole behind this thing. These things were built to train for Vietnam, right? And he said that they're in these barracks, you know, that are abandoned. They were made during the Vietnam War. This thing was hanging out in there, but then it jumped through the window. It didn't make any noise. It was effortless. He didn't get you know, how tall it was or whatever. It was just big. And he says, dude, something like that, what could it be? And I remember this was years ago, in early 2000s. I said something interdimensional. Even though I was firmly grounded in what I saw, and I told them what I saw, and I believed that it was a dog man, like not a dog man, a werewolf. But then later they started calling it a dog man, but it was physical. But after interviewing 1,000 people, then it's like, whoa, maybe it's not. Maybe what I saw was this thing manifesting as a physical creature. That's the thing. You don't really know. Now, here is his encounter. Let me switch my notes here. So he calls this thing the Bultungan, right? Some people call it the Bultengan. Some people call it the Bultungan, whatever. He told me his encounter with this thing when he was living in South Sudan, in the northern part of South Sudan, where a lot of the fighting was. And there was a time of peace. He said he was there with his parents and his grandparents, his aunt and uncle. They all lived in this one house. It was really like divided into two. The way they built it, it was like there were two parts to it. This house was sturdy. He said it had had the doors blown off of it during war, and part of the wall, one of the walls on the west side, had been knocked down. He's like, my parents and my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, they all put it back together. He's like, and here's the thing. He goes, we would walk to church every Sunday, church bell, and we all walk. We would go, and we would walk with machine guns. This is not like you can't just go and live your life. You have to live like it's a war zone. Even when there's peace, you don't know when the war could pop back off. He said, we had peace for like 4 years, and then boom, insurgents come, and we fought. This guy had fought. He was in the military there, and now he was a military contractor, remember? And then he became an engineer. One of the things he told me, he says there was a time of peace. He goes, but it didn't last. He's like, one of our friends had goats, a lot of them. And one by one, they were missing. They were disappearing, but he was seeing these big tracks, like these big, huge tracks. And then he realized, he's like, this is a hyena. But the tracks didn't make sense. They were two-legged. And then the neighbor screams in the middle of the night. He goes, it was a hot September night. He goes, I'll never forget. He's like, and I run down by the creek, and I see my neighbor standing outside with a pitchfork, like a literal pitchfork, like fending off this creature that was getting down on all fours, standing up on its hind legs. He goes, and I'm there with my dad's brother, and my little brother. And he goes, and we all ran down there, and we started shooting at this thing. We told the lady, get back inside, go in your house. He goes, we started shooting at this creature, and it was jumping around. Like it was literally moving so fast in circles and jumping and flipping and spinning. He's like, it was dodging the bullets. And then finally one hit it, and it flipped and rolled, did this weird, like rolled, my words, not his, undulating is what it was doing. Like, then it popped back up, and then it walked backwards, and it ran up the hill backwards on 2 legs, not 4. The minute that they saw this, he's like, my grandfather was like Bultungan. That's Bultungan. That's what it is. They knew that this creature was a shapeshifter, and they think it was from a neighboring village. Of course, they believed that it was an Islamic person who had been studying some sort of magic, and they're Christians, and so they blame the Muslims, and the Muslims get one, and they're like, oh, it's from the Christians. And then that started a skirmish that killed 3 people. That creature. Because they believed that it went up the hill, and when they followed after it, They followed the blood. It went into an alley of a neighboring town that was about 75% Islamic. He's like, if I had to put a number on it, but they were living in a Christian territory in the north. They were very subdued. They didn't cause any problems. And he goes, and luckily one of our neighbors who was Sufik, who had, like we talked about earlier, they were refugees.
Mm-hmm.
He came out. His name is Rafiq, and Rafiq settled everybody down, got everybody calmed down. And then Rafiq went to work because he said, look, he goes, I need your strongest priest, there's Orthodox. He's the strongest priest. Let's get together and let's get rid of this thing, because he goes, this thing has killed 2 people in our village. They didn't interact with that village too much because of the Muslim presence there. But this Sufi, he was able to get them together to deal with it. We're going to talk about that on another episode, not tonight. But if you have any questions and you want to make comments or whatever, feel free to ask now. And let me know what you think. What do you think this creature is? What do you think these things are? What are your thoughts on this? And remember, I talked to another guy named Kareem. This is Karam, not Kareem. It's 2 different people. It's kind of confusing. And then another guy named Hakim. I talked to him. I didn't talk to Rafiq, but I got the information about what he did, what he saw. And there's a few other people that I'm planning on talking to. This opened up a whole thing. And now I have several of my friends who I've been messaging back and forth, who I've known for years. One of them is from Algeria.
Mm-hmm.
And also a guy that used to work with us. You remember I'm going to say his name, but him and his dad worked for us.
Yeah.
Right. And they were from the Middle East. I'm not going to say from where, but they told us about these dogs. Remember when he was playing with his drone out in the parking lot?
Yeah.
He said, if you see those dogs, he goes, they'll stand up on their hind legs and they'll chase you. He goes, but they're not real big. But if they're in a pack together, there's a lot of them, they'll attack you and they will kill you. And he lived near Baalbek.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said they like to hang around by the well by Baalbek. Yeah. And he said that they'll attack people. And whenever they take tourists up there, they'll send armed guards and they'll try to get rid of them, scare them away. And you can't just kill them like a normal creature. This is like something that's like in everyday life to these people. And if you talk to anybody from the Middle East, Levantian people, it doesn't matter whether they're Turkish, Kurdish, Arabic, Jewish, doesn't matter. They'll talk to you about it, but then they'll pull back at certain points. If they trust you and you get to know them, like I've got to know a lot of people, then you'll get a lot more information from them and they will tell you some wild stuff. And I have sat there with my friends and just at their businesses and sat there in the back of their businesses while they're smoking a hookah and told me some wild shit, man. I'm telling you. And y'all have been there when we've had some wild ass conversations. One of our friends from Pakistan who lived in Dubai, he told me some crazy, just stuff. It was just, it's an everyday thing for them.
Yeah.
Whereas here, when we encounter it, we're like, whoa, what the fuck was that? Excuse my language. But, we're all freaked out or whatever. But they're like, well, it's just, it's just a Djinn. They're used to it.
Yeah. Like really for them, if you think about it, there's kind of like no separation between natural and supernatural to them. What would be considered supernatural to us, it's just natural to them. And that's how I see it too. Like it's a part of the world. It's not, we call it supernatural because that's what we know it as, but to me it's just a part of reality.
Yeah. And like this comment here, unreal estate agent. I theorize they are only spirits that can manifest into blood and bone, never having anything to do with people changing into something. They already are what they are. Possibly. I don't know. Yes, good question. James, we still need to talk to. I need to get your stories. You've emailed me, I know. And we've talked, but we haven't gotten you on the show. It says, did they ever mention if you kill the leader, ones that divide, the other ones will die? Yes. Yes. If you kill the main one, and there's 2 ways to kill it. One is you drown it. The hell are you going to do that? I don't know. And then the other one is, there's 3. You can use earth to suffocate it. You can use water, or you can use fire.
So it's got to die by the elements.
It's got to die by the elements, yeah. But the problem is, these creatures get this. They're not what you think they are. The whip dog, actually, this is what the Sufic people believe, right? And there's another type of people that live in that region. I forgot what they're called. They're from the Darfur region, but they're a tribal people. Get this, you will never believe why. Those three elements can kill it. You know why? Because they're related to the wind. Yeah. So you know how when Mackay was out there and he was fighting with these things, he was trying to kill these things.
Yeah, there was wind everywhere.
There was wind. Yeah, there was wind blowing. Yeah. So these things, they come on the wind. That's what they say. And it'll be real windy. And then when it blows wind like that, these things will pop up. Now, I'm going to say something, and it's going to sound a little controversial, but you've heard of Area 51.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say this. I know some people who work security detail. And actually, you probably know them too. But they work there. And whenever there were these windstorms, weird stuff would happen right outside of there. Of course, it is the desert, but it's not the Sahara, you know? So the wind would come, and after the wind would die down, they would have weird encounters with shit like black-eyed kids and weird flying shit, like, excuse my languages, but that's what it is.
Mhm.
Weird crap. And even like these weird wolf-like dogs with what one person described as having, and this was a secondhand story given to me by somebody that worked there who knew somebody. So this is, take it for what it is. This guy, Terry, I'll just say his name is Terry. I'll just say that. He told me, he says, when I was working there, he goes, one of the guys I worked with at one of the guard stations there were two people there, right? They encountered something that looked like a werewolf, but not, it never got up on its hind legs for it to go, oh, it's a werewolf. But it looked like it had no fur, no, like there was no skin. Like you could see its muscles. And it came out of the desert, but it was gray.
Yeah.
Like you could see the tendons where they joined everything, you know?
Yeah.
But it was gray. And it happened after one of these powerful windstorms. Every time they'd have these windstorms, there was another thing I read about at another base. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was a guy that was dealing with the whites, the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the same thing. They would show up after these powerful windstorms, and then you knew they were coming because they would show up. It's just weird stuff like that. Like you're sitting there going, like, what the hell is this? You know, why is it the way it is? So over the next coming episodes, we're going to be talking a lot about these creatures, the hyenas, and what they are. And we're going to go deeper into this with not just Karam. We're going to finish his encounter with this guy, Rafik, that actually helped them get rid of this creature, and how much trouble it was to deal with one of these bastards. But then there are other people who've had encounters with these creatures from the Middle East, you know, and beyond, and Africa. But the area around Lake Chad in particular, these hyenas, if that's what you want to call them, we're going to get into that too, because there's some other stories about these creatures, not just the whip dog, but this weird, these hyenas, whatever you want to call them. Mm-hmm. And that term, I don't know where that term came from. I tried researching it, and I found some stuff on YouTube where people refer to them as, and the only thing I could think of is like it was from the military people called it that. But that's a weird thing. I don't, you know. Mike Ramone, you want to read it?
Yes. Can someone give me a membership? I haven't been able to get one since I'm on the first, I think he meant to say iPhone. I don't have immediate access to a computer. So Mike, hopefully someone can, but whenever they gift memberships, it's just random, man. Like I wish there was a way to gift someone specifically a membership. But yeah, YouTube doesn't let you do that.
Try going on Safari on your actual web browser.
Yeah.
On the iPhone.
Yeah. If you're on an iPhone and you open up your web browser and go to YouTube. Now you have to make sure that you're signed in on YouTube on your web browser, and I'm pretty sure if you do that, you can become a member on iPhone.
Yeah, and the Boltungan word, it's a Kanuri language. It's the Kanuri, or the people that lived in that region pre-Islam, and the Kanuri, they were part of the former Bornu Empire. They owned a huge like swaths of territory, and they were nomadic, but then they decided to settle in that region around Lake Chad and beyond. And for hundreds of miles, they controlled that region. And they were sort of a Arabic, Ethiopian looking people. If you look at Ethiopia, that's how they look. and they just spread out, you know. And in fact, some people believe that's where they came from, was northeastern Africa, and they just spread out, you know.
Yeah.
But the word Otungan literally means I change myself into a hyena. That's what it literally means. Like if you look it up, that's what it means. It's crazy. Joel says, I did it on iPhone. Just click perks next to port channel. Mm-hmm.
I think it depends on maybe
PRT says PRT channel.
maybe it's just how old of an iPhone you have, maybe.
That is true. Like in the movie The 13th Warrior, yeah, Luke. The Northmen feared fog or mist because these creatures would hide in the fog and the mist. One of the reasons why Thor, you know who he was always fighting, right? The ogres.
Mm-hmm.
They would always try to ambush him from the fog. You know, and one of the weird things is the ogres are related to the wind too. They're like they're one of Loki's children. I forgot his name, but that was their, like, not their god, but their ancestor.
Mm-hmm.
So like Loki was originally there, but Loki had like a son. Now I want to say it's not Fenrir, it was the other wolf. I forgot what it was called. It was like I think it was Fenrir's son. Actually, I think Fenrir had a son too. I forgot his name. I know he did, but I can't remember his name. Look it up. But anyway, it was either one of Loki's children or one of Fenrir's children, and that was the one that was created by
three of Loki's children, which is Sleipnir, which is
Yeah.
Odin's horse,
the horse with the 8
Fenrir,
legs,
which is the wolf,
The wolf.
and Hel, which is the ruler of the underworld.
underworld.
Yeah.
No, but it was Skull. Yeah, there was Skull, and then there was another one. They like
Storm?
who?
Hati is another one of his sons.
What does that do? What does he do?
Chases the moon.
The moon. Okay.
And I think Yorm
All right.
chases the sun.
Yeah, one of them eventually eats the sun. Yeah, and devours the moon. Whatever. There's a whole thing. I got to go back and look it up. Yeah, Sleipnir was the horse with the 8 legs or whatever, 6 legs. Was it 8 legs or 6 legs? I think it was 6 legs.
I think it's 6.
Anyways, it's a whole thing. But the ogres, they come from one of those bloodlines, which you know is the Archons, and they were constantly trying to kill Thor. Do you know why they wanted to kill Thor so bad? Do you know why? Because Thor protected humanity. Thor liked people, and Thor tried to protect people. Even his dad, Odin, tried to discourage him. He says, trying to save these people from these enemies is going to get you killed. And so he was always, but Thor knew. He was like, well, that's not going to kill me because I'm going to die from Jormungandr. He already knew. So imagine when you go out to fight at Ragnarok, which I believe was the end of an age. And I also believe, I don't believe that was the end of the last age. A lot of people say that. But it could have been, if you look at it from the Hindu timeline, because of the 365, there's something that it has in common with Christianity, which is the 365 years of the my mind's not working today.
That's one divine year.
Yeah, one divine year, right? And there's Gnostics that talk about this divine, the 1,000 years and all that. Look, if you look it up though, you can read it. There was a Satya Yuga, which is the time of the giants, which Dick Richards was talking about the other day, where they were thousands of feet tall, whatever, and there were just so many of them, and they died. There wasn't a whole lot of them, right? There was just a bunch of giants, and they lived in peace and harmony. They were our ancestors. Then you had the time, and the Vedas tell you, the Hindus tell you that that's true. That really was a thing. But then you had the Tatya Yuga. At the end of the Tatya Yuga, which led into the Dwapara Yuga, which was which I believe was right before the flood. I think that's when Ragnarok took place. It was at the end of that. I believe that the Tatya Yuga, there was still 75% good. And I believe that was the time of Thor and those people. Some people say that have the same kind of belief as me. They'll argue that it was at the Dorpa Yuga and that the flood was the end of that, and that Jormungandr caused the flood because they look at it from an Odinist view, which is like we look at it from an Abrahamic Noahic faith view, right? They're just using different names, and of course, some of the people from the region, the Carthaginians, the Chaldeans, whatever we talked about earlier, the Assyrians, they looked at it from the Sumerian culture view, and it was Gilgamesh. But if you look at that, the giants got smaller and smaller, but they were still giants because in the Kali Yuga, it says that we will be stunted little dwarf-like people that have very short lifespans. And people will go, well, we live to be almost 100 years. Compared to what our ancestors were, I mean, the Dorpa Yuga, you were living to be 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them died 800, 900 years, just like a lot of people die 80, 90. They don't live to be 100. But back then they tapped out at 1,000. Here we tap out at 100. Our lifespans are, and Noah was a giant compared to us. He was a giant. Another thing that happened in the Dorpa Yuga too, people don't realize this, is that there were no more white people. I know that sounds weird or like I'm trying to be racial. I'm not. When he was born, he had blue eyes, and everybody was in shock. And his dad had to ask God, like, why does he have blue eyes? This is bizarre, Nobody on Earth has blue eyes anymore. This is weird. And Noah had blue eyes, and he was light-skinned, and it was a weird thing. And you're not going to find this in that Schofield bullshit, the Bible the bullshit one where they lie. That's a group of people who've got in there and did the lying. No, I'm talking about the real. You got to look it up, and I'm not even going to, because one of the reasons why my algorithm's been killed is because I've been telling people this stuff, and if I sit to say the names of, you have to do your own research. Because they're killing my algorithms. We're down to 200 subs a month. It's not just the dickheads that are reporting us with their fake accounts. They're coming after us too because of, we talk about stuff and they don't want you learning. You can be entertained, spreading circuses, but we're teaching you stuff. They don't want that. So you're going to have to do the work, because if I say those words, I've already said a lot of cussing already and other crap today. They're just going to kill it. What we can do, though, is we can go to Rumble.
Oh, yeah.
And if I could get people to agree, hey, I'll show up and don't waste my time, I will sit there and I will give you the information to go and do this. And it will just be a show for that. Or we could do it on Patreon. When I start doing the Patreon, I don't know how much their policies will allow me to do whatever, but if you're paying to be there, I know you're serious. And I'll start spitting out some stuff you can look up and use that for reference, but look this stuff up. I mean, like, it's the truth. It's what really happened. And I believe that was at the end of the Dorpa Yuga. And that's what the flood came and it destroyed the last of that age. And then we ended up in the modern era we're at now. Unfortunately, this is the Kali Yuga and it's the worst. But it also is the easiest to transcend from, because everything's so bad if you just act right,
Yeah.
Okay, Overbuilt says Patreon will kill stuff too. God dang, these people have a stranglehold on fucking reality, dude. Excuse my language. I'm sorry. Yeah, Patreon will restrict you. Okay, well, we can't do it there.
Well,
and
Rumble it is.
Rumble's so janky, dude. Like, god dang.
Yeah,
man.
it's hard to get people to go over there and I just know that the Rumble app is garbage. Can't use that thing.
When you start talking about Old Testament stuff, certain people get really pissed off.
Oh yeah.
They want it to be, this is the way it is, and you got to believe it. And if you don't believe it, then you're a apostate or whatever. Mm-hmm. You're an apostate. So anyways, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for everybody who came to hear me talk about this. I know I talk fast and I get going or whatever, because there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of information that has to be kicked out to you. I'm not the biggest channel. We're not the biggest, strongest channel, whatever, but we do our job. Okay. And a lot of people don't like us. Not a ton. A ton of people love us, but there are a lot of people who don't like us. And most of those people aren't real vocal about it. They're just like, yeah, F that guy. I don't like him. They just don't like me. They can't even tell you why. I know why. But there are a handful of people who despise us, and they will do anything, and they are mass reporting us every day. Every day we get reported, every day. And you know who they are. and their channels are absolute dumpster fires. So it ain't gonna do no good. You can go report them all day. It doesn't matter. They they went from having 20 views to 10, and then the rest they pay for.
Yeah.
So who cares?
100,000 subscribers, but like 1,000 views on average.
Well, there's nobody that hates us that has 100,000
No.
subscribers.
Just exaggerating.
No, these people have okay, I was about to say they have nothing. They're just stupid. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow night on the members only. What's it about again?
It's a Kettle Lake story.
Kettle Lake.
It's a Bigfoot.
It's a Bigfoot
really
story, but it
one.
is horrific.
It's terrible.
You got to be ready. It's not terrible.
What
I
happened?
tell people not to go there now. Don't.
It's a bad story. Don't bother.
It's so horrible. You don't even want to hear it. In fact, just bypass it altogether. It'd be the best thing you could ever do.
We'll tell you right now. Things happened. Wasn't good.
Let me fix that. The what happened to this witness is good and it's awesome. It's a terrific thing that
I
happened.
didn't say all that. It was
You're just wrong on every front. You just can't get it right, huh?
No.
Oh, jeez.
It's a horrible story. It's a good story.
You see how easy it is to mess it up?
Well, no, I was right. It's a horrible story about horrible events, is what you're trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, it's a good story about horrible events that happen to these people.
I mean, I wouldn't say it. I don't know.
I'm not saying anything because I don't want these witnesses
it's
mad
going
at
to
me.
be a quality episode.
It's a quality
that you're going to enjoy.
That was told by
about a terrible
things.
Dang it! About a horrific experience that happened to this guy. Terrifying. No, but for real though, like it's pretty messed up. So, but you're gonna be scared, and you're gonna tune in, and you're gonna like it.
Well, is that what they want, to be scared? I don't know if people want to be scared. I don't think.
Yeah, they do.
Some people do. Some people like the scary stuff, but some people like to just hear the encounters, and some people are curious, and some people they want to get knowledge. I don't know. What? Let me ask the audience that.
What's your
430? What is your preference? Do you want to be scared? Well, like Rebecca, she already said, "Look, I love being scared." I love being scared. Or do you want to get knowledge? What is what? Okay, let's put it this way. What is the thing you like the most about PRT? Do you come to predominantly? What do you come to do? Do you come to learn? Do you come to just curiosity of the encounters? Do you come to be scared? What is it that you do?
What is your favorite thing, Anthony? Well, maybe we'll go around the table here. Well,
my favorite thing. I mean, I don't much care for being scared, but I do. My favorite part is like learning something new, and I guess like learning like how and why these things work the way they work. And I mean, like maybe that's just my nerdy like left brain stuff, but like the like okay tonight, like I had no idea about some of the history of that region.
Yeah, and
there's a lot of information that even just besides the cryptid paranormal stuff that Wolf was talking about. That's just this is a lot to digest. Like that stuff. That's my favorite. I mean, I like the scary stuff, like the cryptids and stuff, but to me that it's like I said earlier, like to me that's like I don't consider it like I don't
cherry on top.
I don't consider that like separate from supernatural. It to me it's all just it's natural. It's just a part of our reality. It's not like some special thing.
Yeah. I guess for me, would I enjoy seeing half of my face on camera?
Oh yeah, you're like this all the time. You don't
I would
bother
feel bad if I had to do all of
fix it.
I would take over the whole show. So
I gotta fix the camera every time because you refuse to just get on it.
As half of the face of this show, I just feel like it's very important that they're given what they decide. No, I mean, for me, like I said, growing up, I can kind of relate to what we were talking about, how, this is just natural. It's like these stories are not stories. It's just like, things you have to follow and kind of guidelines. So it's really interesting for me to hear about different kind of cultures or different kind of cryptids or creatures and learn about kind of what to do or like what kind of things it is. Because I do believe it is geography has like a big part of what kind of things you're going to experience or maybe how you deal with certain things. So it's really cool to have someone like Wolf who knows and gets so many stories from different kind of areas.
Knowing so many people too.
Yeah.
It's like how like the way these things are, the way the information is presented on the show, to put it in a nutshell, like the best part of it is how the different aspects that, like you said, the geography, the geology, the cultural history, and the supernatural, how they all interconnect.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Well, and the thing is too, and this is so funny about my enemies saying all these things. When I was talking to Mech about it, Mechie, and I told him, I said, yeah, I'm doing my show. And he said that at one point he had tuned in and was telling everybody that I was quitting and that I was leaving. And he doesn't know me to be a quitter or to be a weak person at all. And I was kind of bummed out, because I messaged you, but I didn't see it. I had so many things going on at that time. And last September, of course, I was going through the gout for the entire month. Yeah. It just kept coming back, and my doctor was baffled, And funny, my doctor actually kind of joked around. He said, maybe somebody cursed you. And my wife was sitting there looking at him like, But yeah, I told him, I said, dude, I've been through the ringer with this show. And he's like, he goes, most people really like you. I said, yeah, but there's people who hate my guts. Absolutely hate my guts. And this is a guy I've known for years and years. And he knows that I know a lot of people, and he says, well, I'm going to introduce you to some more people and you can get this information from them, whatever. That's the thing. For decades, I have cultivated friendships and relationships with people from all over the freaking world. So when people try to say that I have all these people that hate me as enemies, whatever, I'm telling you the truth. There is a handful of dickheads, literally, who work tirelessly. They go on Reddit. They have these, they team up and they say all kinds of crazy crap. And what they've done literally is lie to one another. And I 100% believe this. I promise you, this is the truth. Imagine Tony and Anthony, me, we don't really have a lot in common, but you've had problems with somebody because they told you what was what. You don't like it. So what you do is you call Tony and you tell him your lie. Tony tells you his lie. And he goes, well, let's call this other guy and not tell you a lie. You start to swim in that lie soup. And it's literally, they're like incestuous lying, just, breeding more lies. You have a handful of people who back each other up with their little lies about bullshit.
And they build on it.
They build on that. And then it becomes like an obsession amongst these several people. There's really just a handful of them. But they lie so voraciously to one another and to themselves. You can say what you want. Misinterpretation of the facts in a big way, okay? Let's just call it what it is. It's a lie. You're lying. You're absolutely lying because the truth bears it out. I have people who I've been friends with in the security field, in MMA, in boxing. I've had friends that I've been friends with for years in so many different groups. I've been known by a bunch of people in the card industry. What I mean by that is like baseball cards, football cards, go to card shows. I have friends that I've known for years that have card shops all over Texas, and all these different people. I've traded with them. I've had people send me cards, high dollar, expensive cards, thousands of dollars, and they know that I'm good for it. They don't even blink an eye. They're just like, hey, I'm going to send you these. Pick what you want. Send me back the rest, and then pay me for what you got. You've seen me do this. Now, if I'm such a son of a bitch, why would this guy in Houston send me all these cards and trust me to go through them and just because he knows I'm going to see him again someday. I'm not going to run and hide and steal from him. And I'm going to be at a card show someday, and I'm going to run into this guy again. He's going to see me and be like, and this guy is no punk. He's not a former lawman, he's a former bounty hunter, but he's always strapped. And I wouldn't doubt if he'd come right up to me. He's not scared, but he trusts me because they trust me. I can go to 4 or 5 different dealerships and they'll throw me the keys and say, here, go take the car for the week. You come back when you're done. They don't care. They trust you. You don't get that kind of trust from people by being a lying, evil snake son of a bitch like these goofy people are going around saying. That's not how the world works, my friend. You don't get these stories. They say they can't get stories. You know why? And I'm going to be brutally honest with you, and it may really suck. I hope it does. You suck. That's why. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to deal with you. There's not a million people blowing up your phone trying to give you stories because they don't give a shit about you because you can't retell it. And if they do come on your show, you're going to mess it up while they're trying to talk about it because I've seen it. So that is the case with these people. When you sit there and you go, and I'm not getting all excited or angry. I'm not angry. I'm not angry at all. I'm just telling you the absolute truth. This is what the reality is. When you work as hard as I have and you cultivate relationships and friendships, I can go to 3 different people to cut my hair. All of them will cut my hair. They know how I want my hair cut. The guy to cut it today, and he knows me and he talks to me and he acts like, hey, we're friends, whatever. My barber that I had for years moved up to Michigan. We're still friends to this day. We still talk. He's a former Marine. He's a great guy. We're friends. We've always been friends. One of the ladies that works for me, her partner cuts hair. Talk to that person all day long. We're friends. I talked to her yesterday. Let me tell you something, man. I've been friends with people that work. I have people that work for me, and I have people that I've been friends with, that I've done work with and worked for decades. My oldest client goes all the way back to 2006. Still one of my clients to this day. If I'm such a bad guy, why would these people deal with me? I know people in every field, whether it's an electrician. One of my oldest friends is an electrician. One of my friends is a plumber. If I need help, I can call them. They will come and they will do it. And I have friends that are mechanics. I don't have to worry. I can take my car up there and leave it. Or I'll call them up and say, hey, just put the keys, where I can get them and I'll pay you later. We do, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
We do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
These people don't run around chasing me down to try to get their money because they know that we're good for it. We're not going to deceive them. We're not going to cheat them. I can get a set of tires put on a vehicle and I'll pay you next week. Hey, it's all good. I could go and pick up a horse right now and take it out to my ranch and ride it around all over the place and not even pay for it until next month. And that person's going to be, hey, you're good for it. I could pick up a Corinthian bull and do it. And I'm not going to ride it because that's crazy. But I could take it. And they'd say, hey, give me $8,000 when you can. We're good. Because that's the kind of relationships I have cultivated. People don't understand who you're dealing with. I'm not trying to brag. I'm telling you the truth. When these people say the crazy, wacky crap that comes out of their mouths, they're literally talking out of their ass. And you're not talking to real people who know me. You're not talking. You say, I'm a wannabe tough guy. There's jiu-jitsu coaches here that'll tell you something different. There's boxing people who will tell you different. They will tell you, I will whip your ass. They'll tell you that point blank and tell you you're crazy out of your damn mind. There are fighters, professional fighters who fought for years who respect me and that I'm their friend. People that, like I said, that have cards like expensive. These cards are valuable, expensive things, and they trust me with them. They know that if I bent a corner and messed it up, I'm going to pay for it. They know that because I'm that guy. I'm never going to cheat you, short you, lie to you, F you up, or mess with you. None of that. I'm not a backstabbing user. So when these people say that, people like my friend Mac will sit there and go, who are these people? Like my brother, who is these people?
Yeah.
Who are these guys? Why do they lie? I said, yeah, they lie. They do, Maggie. They lie. They say awful things because they don't have shit going on in their lives. But what they need, and I'm going to say this, excuse my language, but they need Christ. They talk about him all the time, but they act like he never even said a word. They just use their own words. And they love that Old Testament vengeance instead of talking about Jesus and what needs to be said and what needs to be done. They want to hang on to vengeance. Vengeance for what? What did I do, honestly, that drives you to be so crazy and impulsive and to say the vile things you say? They always say that they have proof of this and that. They have not produced one shred of proof. We at PRT have produced tons and tons and tons of proof of the profanity, the insanity, and the outright just audacity of these people to lie and facilitate their little group just continuing to spin these lies. Wild things that they say about us that you wouldn't even say about the most vile dog on earth, and they say them about me and my family. Because they don't have our ability. They don't have what we have. They look at what we have and they want it. And 100%, they want war. That's what they want. Now, a friend of mine made a video about one of them. I'm not even going to get into it. Sparky made a video. Sparky, but I thank you for that, but I respectfully disagree that ignoring these people is going to make them go away, because it hasn't done that yet. You can ignore cancer, but it's not going to go away. It's going to eventually kill you. And these people are a cancer. And what they do is they just spread lies and deceit. And it doesn't come to anything but the anger and frustration and pain and suffering of the community. Now, take it for what it is. When I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I ship you your stuff. I give you what I say I'm going to give you. If your stuff is behind or something, call me, contact me, get in touch with us. We're approachable. You'll talk to somebody from PRT and they'll get you what you're owed, because I keep my word. Just like I'll tell you right now, I have friends that can just do I have friends for every single thing that you could possibly imagine. I'm a very resourceful person, but I didn't get this way by being a snake oil salesman. These people have been my friends for decades. You don't cultivate and keep friendships like that long by being a snake oil salesman. Do you understand that? It doesn't work. People who are charlatans, what will happen is they'll be friends with somebody, for a little while.
Yeah.
They'll be friends for a little while, and then that person will catch on, and then we're not friends no more. That happens. That happens to those people. The people that I deal with in my real life, I have been friends with for years. The guy that works on our cell phones, that guy, his name is Phil. I have been friends with that guy since 2013. We're still friends. We're still friends. When we had the situation, we had to move out to the ranch. Tony needed to stay in town. He stayed at his house. He gave him his house and he has another house because he lives with his girlfriend. And Tony had the run of the place. Now, Tony took his pots and pans and heated up something on the lids.
Yeah.
Guy was really cool about it. He is a really cool guy. Shout out to Phil, right? Point being, the guy has been my friend for years. He'll give me a phone or whatever I need. It don't matter. Pay me later. Just get me back. It don't matter. These are the kind of people that I'm friends with. I can walk into a restaurant, and if this doesn't happen, but say I forgot to pay, I promise you they're not going to call the cops on me. They're going to be like, well, that's Wolf. He's going to get it. Don't worry. He's good. Never have problems. I know owners of tons and tons and tons of businesses. When I was sick and I had the virus back when everybody was getting it this last time too, my friend, she owns, her name is Yvonne Graham. She was an Olympic medalist. She's from Germany. You know what she did? She came to our house and dropped off the supplements, the NAC and the, what is the other one? The colostrum and all that stuff that you need to get well. She put it on my doorstep and rang the doorbell, then called me and said, hey, your stuff is right there. Delivered it to me. Pay me when you can. The way she talks, pay me when you can.
Yeah.
You don't get that way by being a cheating, lying snake that these people try to portray me as. You're not going to find somebody here in Austin. You notice how nobody, they can't find anybody in my everyday life to lie and talk bad about me.
No.
They only find people online that are full of shit liars that'll lie to each other, and they'll spread a lie amongst each other like they're spreading a disease to talk about us and say horrible things about us. Because the people that know the Turners and know you guys, they're not going to say anything about us because they know who we are. My neighbors out there, out in the country, they don't have a problem with us. One of my neighbors, every harvest, he brings to my cousins like corn, sweet corn, not GMO'd bullshit. That's the only kind of corn I'll eat, is that kind of corn right there. He'll bring it to you. The neighbors will cut our grass for us. They'll be like, hey, you know what? We cut your grass. You'll get us back. That's the kind of people that I deal with. I don't know who these people think they are. Okay? A couple of them worked for us for a little while, and they were the worst people. I don't want to get into their work ethic, but it was just not up to standard. They're the kind of people who aren't going to do right. They probably have a ton of people in their everyday life chasing them around that owe them money, or they have all kinds of problems with individuals in their life. We don't have that problem. I don't owe people a bunch of money. So that's it. I'm just telling you, you can judge a person by their fruits, by their works. Judge the people by the people that they know in their everyday life, not some asshole that watches them and just decides they don't like what they're saying. Remember that. That's it. Exactly, JFA. Online, it's easier to hide, lie, and avoid accountability.
Well, you can curate this fake image of a life online.
It's not hard. Everybody does it.
Yeah, they live vicariously through their own creations that they make of themselves. You know, and I know this. One of my friends told me this the other day, that I'm too real. You know, he told me that. He said, you know, you've always been that guy. You're very real. And a lot of people, they don't want that. They don't want to be in the real reality. They want to be in the pseudo make-believe world that they've cultivated online. They want to live online. They want to be, you know, have relationships online. What in the hell kind of shit is that?
Yeah.
What is that? You know, I'm sorry, but I get people meet online and they're friends, they whatever. But how do you have a boyfriend and girlfriend when you're online? What is that?
I've never understood that.
At some point, are you going to meet this person and whatever that is that these weird people do, dress up as dogs together or whatever the shit you do? That's what they do. They're a bunch of weirdos. I could have seen it. They're very weird. But they'll be in a relationship online for 2 years before they become real people. You might as well date a robot. I can't even fathom that. Who the hell does that?
Well, people are doing that now. They say they're dating their AI companion, whatever.
What?
I'm actually getting married pretty soon.
Yeah, that's a real
mine.
thing.
Pretty excited.
Like people will go back and forth with Chat GPT. There are actually different AIs for like different like personalities and different people, and they name them, and people go back and forth like chatting with them.
Oh my god!
And they like they call them their.
How did I not know about this?
Because it's worthless knowledge, I guess. I mean,
yeah, but I thought I would at least know about this. If nothing else, to make fun of it.
Yeah.
Telling me this whole time I've been trying to find a real woman when I get a robot woman. Wasting my dang time.
What is wrong with this? What is wrong with this? What is wrong with these people?
Like they'll even talk to Chat GPT or like one of these other AI things as like their therapist, and like they'll type in all their problems and then it'll spit back like some supportive response or something. It's weird, dude. I don't know. People are just like just lost and desperately looking for something that they don't even know what it is. And I don't know, maybe they're just lonely. I don't know. They're really disconnected from other human beings, you know.
Well, folks, do this. Go to the main PRT group. We sent out what do you call that? Like invitations or whatever.
Yeah.
We have a main PRT group, and then we have a page. But if you go to the group there's a link, and there's a link in the description on YouTube, and you can go and hit that link and to help you join whatever. But anyways, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be ugly or mean to anybody that's a paratrooper, that's one of us. But there is a serious problem in this country with people and their brains. And I'm sorry, they don't use them. They don't work. I don't know what. And I'm not going to sit up here and pander and cater to those people. You know, I had somebody the other day at the coffee shop. You know, Anthony, pronoun is they. You know,
yeah.
Shut up. You know, okay. I don't. You know, this person described us as aggressive males. I said, there's nothing aggressive about ordering a coffee. You know, this is ridiculous. You're used to people that are weak, and you can see they have the Beavis and Butthead arms. They look like they walk in, they're like ghouls. They look like ghouls, you know. And if you, Tony's kind of making a face. I'm not talking about you, Tony. We know you look like that too, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
what, that face? Hang on, wait. Let's see if we can get a better shot of it here. Where's it? Here we go.
I like Thundercats. This is
Yeah.
Gargamel. This is Mr. Kitty.
He changed it.
Oh, thank you for that, Michelle. I remember you. She says, when I was at the conference in White Settlement, Anthony gave me a book that I wanted but couldn't afford because I bought some other books and a sweatshirt. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, I remember that.
Who was this?
Michelle Collins.
Well, Michelle, you owe us $20 for that book. I'm going to let you know right now.
Don't worry, we're
Fair,
gonna punish
fair.
Anthony for that.
Hell, I actually gave away like a lot of stuff.
Oh,
You know what?
I mean, Tony did too.
oh no,
And that's
yeah,
what you're
I never
supposed
did.
to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that if you're supposed to do that, but at the first conference, at the end of the first conference, what these people, they're so horrible. You know what they did? They took pictures of the conference and said, look, this is the kind, like everybody had left. And they said this to all the empty seats.
Yeah. Oh,
And they
yeah.
said that we couldn't sell our merchandise, so we were giving it away. That's how vile these people
Yeah.
are. This is how horrible these people are. This is the kind of people you're dealing with. At the second conference, they tried to do the same thing. It didn't work. And I was like, no, because we had
They twist
600 and something people at that
everything.
second conference. Don't even try it, you know.
We gave stuff away because it was like a thank you for staying the whole 3 days and staying till the very end. It was us appreciating their dedication.
We gave
to
away
that
a lot of
conference.
stuff, and that's what you're supposed to do. If you care about your people, you care about the fan base. Mike asked a question. Man, I have shelved that project until further notice. I'm going to get it done. I promise you. But I just don't have time. I'm still about a few thousand words short of what I want to be at. And I'm trying to figure out how to fill it. And right now I got a million projects going on. I got a million things going on, and work is an ever present pain in the ass. It's just, it is what it is. And so, but that will come out. And my brother is now back out at the ranch, and he's working on the book about the haunted house we lived in. So I'm thinking maybe we're going to release them both at the same time, like we did the Dogman and the Bigfoot book. We're going to do the same thing with the vampire and the ghost book. I don't want to call it ghost book because it's about the haunted house. It was just ghosts. It was a lot of weird stuff. But Wendigo. There you go. Yeah, Squid. No one cares. Make my coffee. That's the thing.
Yeah.
This woman started a fight with us. And I'm not even joking. She had the bangs that were right here. She had the septum in her nose. It was all of it. She had all of the hallmarks of an orc, one of those lib orcs. It was crazy. And some people don't like it. They don't like that I say certain things or whatever. And those people can go jump in the ocean. I don't care. I mean, they're not my base. If you were my base and you were paying my bills, I might be a little nicer. But you're going to come up here and criticize me and spread lies and talk a bunch of crap. Don't think that I'm going to be nice back, because I'm not. I know who I am. I know what I am. And I know who cares about me. And the people in my everyday life that deal with me on a daily basis respect me. They do. There's nobody disrespecting me and going around lying and saying all kinds of crap. They have nothing bad to say about me. Everybody knows, oh, that's Wolf. He's cool. He's a cool dude. He don't mess with nobody. You don't mess with him. He's a big guy. He's tough, but he don't, he ain't gonna smack the shit out of you. You leave him alone. We got people jumping around acting a fool, and then they get upset because they get the pam. Don't mess around. It's a simple thing. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be the way it is. It's that way because you make it that way. No, this isn't a Casio. This is an Invicta. This one right here. This is one of them. One of my Invictas. Yeah, JFA, that really happened. That lady, that was a while back. It was a couple months ago. We go in there, though, and get a coffee, and good coffee, but damn, dude. She was literally like, I'm not even joking. I'm like, here's the stir, dude. She's doing this while she's looking at us. And then she's like, and not blinking, like that sociopath where they don't blink, you know. And I'm all like, and when she handed me the coffee, she jerked it, and it's got hot coffee in my hand. I was like, ah. And I pulled back. I said, what is your problem? At that point, I told her, I said, what did I do to you? Why are you acting like this? Oh, why am I acting like this? Oh, because I'm not down with the patriarchy, and all this other shit came out of her mouth. And I was like, what the freaking hell? There are people like that here in Austin, man. There's a lot of liberals that are just liberals. They're not trying to mess with you. You don't mess with them. You don't engage them. They don't engage you. There's a lot of people that aren't bad like that. But there are people like her, and you would not believe that they really exist until you meet them. She acted like she was at some kind of rally to save the environment or some shit. And I'm like, and I was the evil bad guy, you know. So she was really going in on me, you know, and let's be honest, I look like a white guy and Anthony's brown. So she was kind of giving him a pass, but then she started in on him because he said something to her. He goes, since we came in here, you've been acting, you know, whatever, and looking at us crazy and whatever. He's like, we didn't do anything to you for you to be. And she's like, oh, really? Two angry, aggressive males coming in. And we're like, angry, aggressive? Nobody's angry. Nobody's aggressive. Nobody was doing anything to you. We were just sitting there joking, laughing to each other. It had nothing to do with anything. We weren't making fun of the people. We weren't making fun of the goofy shit on the walls. We weren't doing anything. We were talking about the job. We were talking about work. Nellie was out on the phone in the vehicle. And I just said, honey, what do you want? I'm going to get it. And she's okay. And me and Anthony went in there to get it because he had to use the restroom. And then, you know, we got our coffee. I couldn't believe that she did that. I still can't believe how people are. That's just crazy. The act that
she wanted a problem.
She wanted a problem. Wanted a problem. Absolutely wanted a problem. And we didn't want a problem. We're just like, look, man, we just want a coffee. You know, and she was just like, and he told her, he's like, you've been, you know, staring at my uncle and you know, you started this. Mm-hmm. And she was just like, oh, really? Oh, I'm here alone. I'm a woman all alone. I didn't know it was a woman.
Yeah. I couldn't tell. But we're not exaggerating.
I'm not trying to be mean. One of us but when she spoke, it was a woman.
Yeah.
But she did everything she could to make herself look like a dude in a dress. But it wasn't a dude. It wasn't a tranny, transsexual, whatever they call them. I wasn't trying to be mean or rude to this person. I just was like, what is your problem? Like, you just threw hot coffee on me. Basically, she burned my hand. And I told her, I said, you're so off base. She said, I'm part of the white male patriarchy. And I told her, I said, lady, my mother's Hispanic.
Well, then what am I part of?
And I'm like,
the brown male patriarchy?
What was your deal? Because and I said, this is crazy. I said, I'm Hispanic, you know, and you're whatever. And she's like, well, I didn't know that. So you would treat me differently if you know I was Hispanic? Because you just saw white guys, you throw hot coffee on them and talk shit? Wasn't going to do any good to call the manager the next day. The manager probably looks as stupid as her.
Yeah, manager's probably worse.
Probably worse.
That's why she's the manager.
Probably looks like the dude from Judas Priest. Rob Halford, or whatever his name is. He probably comes out and asks us chats, hey, you going to talk about me, huh? I hate the male patriarchy. That's why I'm gay. I'm you know. Typical Austin bullshit. I had to go through this one day getting a pizza, too. It didn't happen to me, but some guy in front of me was, he looked Hispanic. He was like a light-skinned Hispanic, but you could tell he was Hispanic. You didn't look at him and go like me. You kind of go, what are you? You know? That guy, he was just, that woman was lighting him up, and I'm like, and you know what's crazy about it was there was like a black lady standing there next to me, and we're looking at each other, and she's going like we're both sitting there going like, why is this a thing?
Yeah, like, can you just be normal?
The guy just said, you messed up on my pizza, whatever. And she's like, the squid just said microaggression. Yeah, that's what she said. She's sitting there and she's going, I'm getting a lot of microaggression from you. I'm getting a lot of hostility. And he's like, I just want sausage on my pizza. You know what? And she started going about how he shouldn't be eating meat anyway. I'm not even joking. This was about a year ago, but I'm sitting there and the lady behind me was like, we were both standing there. It was a black woman, you know, whatever. And when the guy stood there, he kind of was like, he took his receipt. He was just like standing there like, you know, the lady walked up and was like, okay, I just wanted to get my pizza, whatever. And she goes, you're not the problem. She tells the black lady that. And the black lady's like, okay. And then she goes back to the back to get the pizza. And she turns around and looks at it. She goes, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get my pizza. I'm not in the middle of this, And the guy goes, no, it's okay. Whatever. He had a bit of an accent, And she comes back and she's like, a lot of people think they can do what they want because they're men. And she like directs it at him. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. This bullshit. And the lady was like, yeah, I just want to get my pizza. And she goes, okay, yeah, you're going to get your pizza. Don't worry about it. And then she's like, and then she gives her like a free dessert or whatever. And that lady, to her credit, I don't know her from Adam, she turned around in front of that woman and gave the dessert to that guy. And I was like, and then I clapped. It was another guy standing there. We were both like, yeah, yeah. That woman behind the counter, I'll still remember a blue ass haired, goofy lady with the weird hair. She had the weird cut hair. And she was sitting there, she was just like, so she started with me when I went to get my food, and I just sit here. So what I did with her, because I didn't speak, right? She starts kind of being like snotty with me, and I said, look, lady, I'm not here to fight with you, but if we got problem, you, me, we have problem. She's like, immediately, that accent just kind of makes people go, maybe I should shut up.
Yeah.
I said, I just want pizza. I come here to get pizza, no problem with you. And do a dead face like this. Do we have problem? I just want to get pizza. Pepperoni, mushroom. She's like, okay, I'm going to shut up. She didn't say shit after that. She went and got my fucking pizza. It don't work every time. It works at the gym, too. Somebody comes up and starts talking. I'm like, look, I am workout. Why you make trouble for me? You have very small arms. I see you weak.
We must break you.
Go from me now. They're like, okay, you can have that station. Thank you. Your mother is very proud of you. They crack your knuckle like this, as I can do on command. And then they just go, oh my gosh, this guy is just gonna kill me. You're very observant. I learned that from hanging out with some of those people.
Yeah.
One of my friends used to do that. We go to the club in Dallas, and this guy brought him a drink. I felt terrible for this guy. And he takes the drink. He goes, you give me a drink. It's no lemon. Take the drink back. Make it right. And this guy, who was a big dude with tattoos, he's like, okay. And he grabs his arm. He goes, don't fuck up this again. And then guy walks off, comes back, very respectful. I'm observing this, and I'm going like, wow. That's how you get people to act right. Talk like you have not seen the sun in 13 years, and maybe you were locked up in some gulag, right? And your cellmate was an actual bear, a brown bear. And you fought him for a piece of a bone from a pork chop every day. Then people might act right. Right? Yeah. There's another one, too, you can do. You can be like, what am I, an asshole? Huh? I see you looking at me. It's like you have a problem. I don't think we do. We understand each other? Sometimes people will kind of back off and be like, oh, shit, this guy looks like he's, seems to work better than the typical, like, my Texan accent. Hey, man, we got a problem. It just doesn't do it. Right? So that's what I did with her. She stopped her shit. She got my pizza, and I didn't blink. I just did the sociopathic stare. Walked out. She was over there like, I'll just mess with the next guy, the next male patriarchy guy. That's what I should have done with the goofy ass lady with the septum and her the nose rings and things. I should have done that with her. Look, you are a strange boy. Why you make trouble for me, little boy? In my country, I spank little boy like you. We put you in gulag. I spank you. You are ugly person, make bad coffee. Why you do this? You burn hand.
I come from Ukraine. You treat me like
Maybe
this?
now I burn your car. You like drive? You know drive with feet. Gone. I would have shut the fuck up after that, wouldn't you, lady? Anyways, folks, thank you for tuning in and playing Duck Hunt. I know I did when I was a kid, and that damn gun sucked.
Dude, it did. It did.
Sucked so bad.
I hated that game when I played it at Thin Marianne's house.
And they said there were whole bars that people were doing that in Japan. I said, so they make the crappy ones and send them here, or they just enjoy the pain of not being able to make them work?
You'll be an A, you'll be a B.
I thought it was something wrong with like her TV or something. I was like, yes, TV sucks.
You had to get right up on that damn thing. Then you're cheating. So you're Chewbacca. Next Dogman story in this voice. Welcome to PRT. I am your host. That's a good Boris.
Yeah. I
am your host, Boris. And this is my friend, Oleg. Say hi, Oleg.
Hello. I am Oleg. I have good day.
Now we have good time. We talk and have fun. Most excite. And now, much talk of Dogman. This guy, he come out of the bar and he was drunk. He see this thing is on the two legs, like a wolf, and it bite his balls. They go back inside, get the gun, they come out, they shoot, and then they eat. Everyone in village happy. The end. Doesn't have the same appeal.
One
it's a work
day,
in progress.
Yeah,
drinking
we're
vodka.
workshopping it.
The Dogman come, take my vodka. Horrible.
I choke, I kill him multiple times, and then we drink.
My father had heart attack seeing vodka go.
My friend, my neighbor Fedor come over and we eat him. All right, guys. All right, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being the best part of what makes PRT, and that's what makes it enjoyable to come in and do what I got to do. We will be talking a lot more about these hyena creatures, whatever they are, from Africa, because they are literally found in every country in Africa. I'm telling you, wherever there's hyenas, they are hyenas. It's crazy. It's like here, there's the Dogman, the werewolves, and all that. Europe, same thing, But over there, they don't have wolves; they have hyenas, and that's what they are. It's always these hyenas. Sometimes lions, but typically hyenas. All right, guys, we'll see you. Oh, wait! Before we go, does anybody want to win? Should we do a giveaway?
No, I don't think they do. I
No.
was looking at some of the comments. They said I hate winning.
Yeah, sent his Dagestan.
In Soviet Russia, we win.
Yeah.
Government win, you lose.
Yeah.
I think my favorite.
Who wants to win? What was it?
I was going to wait for someone to win first.
Dude, Lawrence says, all I do is win. That's all we all do, dude. That's what they hate us so
PRT.
bad. It's PRT. This is the land of winners, dude. We win. We are true winners in life, in every facet. And the more you learn, the more knowledge you have, the more they say the game is rigged. Well, you got to rig it in your favor because that's what Christ was here for, to make you win. We here at PRT, we win. That's what we do. Who wants to win? Just tell me you want to win, and I got you.
You know what?
We got a couple.
Bluestone 60. I'm pretty sure they've been here for a little while, and they said they've never won.
Well, Bluestone, you're the winner then.
But this is Soviet Russia, and property is death. So now you are arrested.
Now that you own something, you must die. In Russia, property on you. Here's giveaways at prtpodcast.com. Giveaways at prtpodcast.com.
Yeah, Bluestone. So make sure you send us an email to that email address at the bottom of the screen there. Your name, mailing address, and shirt size, and we'll get your stuff sent out. And also, thank you for that super chat, T. Toby.
Toby's one of the good ones.
Very generous.
Yeah, you're awesome.
All right, who else? Tony, your turn. You want to pick somebody?
I was going to choose Bluestone, but I guess
well,
let me
pick
look.
somebody.
Rebecca, I believe
Rebecca
she said
who?
she wanted to win. Dang, I can't find it now. No, she's already won.
If there's somebody then somebody who hasn't won and you want to win, just say, I want to win. That's all. It's a very simple thing.
Philip Miller?
Like that one episode, well, there's been a couple, but there was one where we were just telling people all you have to do is say, I want to win.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept on saying, like, can I? Do I win? Like what?
Yeah,
do I like?
dude.
And you're like, just say it. Say the word.
Like I'm taking crazy pills.
Just say, I want to win. It's as simple as
You
that.
know
It
what?
was like an episode of Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
I'll choose Andreas. I don't know if he's won yet.
Lulu Bug says, I want to win. Lulu, have you won before? Look, there's two of
It's
them
a
right
cool
there.
name.
Chewbacca, who was Chewbacca earlier.
The way he spells it.
Chewbacca wants to win. Let's pick Chewbacca, and there's Lulu Bug. Right?
I was going to choose Andreas.
And Rebecca says, I want to donate, but broke from school shopping. Really? Really? School's closing for your kids?
This is your school.
This is more important than giving us money?
You should plop your kids in front of the TV
The
or the
iPad.
phone and make them watch PRT instead of going to school. That's what you should do. That way
They start crying from they're afraid.
Yeah, they get scared.
Like, I tried that, but my kids just kept crying.
But see, Rebecca, what you got to do is like you take your thumb and your index finger like this, and you just give them a pinch. You pinch them and make shut up, watch it. You know, like the Mexican moms do in
I
church.
was going to say, he's too good at that. So I don't know.
You know why he's good at that? Because my sister raised you.
Yeah,
That's what she did to you.
yeah.
I saved you from that.
That
That's
Mexican
what,
mom pinch is so painful, dude.
Oh, dude. My mom one time, my mom was on another level, but my mom pinched me from Haskell all the way to Stanford. Look it up on a map, and you'll see what that. I had a purple knot for a month on my arm. She just was like, just keep talking, say something else. I wasn't even saying anything else. I was sitting there. George Strait was on the radio. He was saying stuff, not me. Golly, dude. Like, good grief, dude. Yeah, she could pinch. Oh, that's cool. Adrian says, I don't need anything right now. I'm going to have to expand my closet from all my swag. Y'all will take care of Patreon members. Good. We tried to. Thank you, Claire. And if your name isn't in green, guys, get your name in green for tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a good show. It's going to be awesome. You really got to hear there's a Bigfoot. It's crazy. Bigfoot is not what you think it is. Trust me. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here, man. If you won, be sure and send us your information so that we can send you your stuff. Shirt size, name, address, all that. Good night.
Sweet, sweet Alice, step through the looking glass. Step through the looking glass. Whimsical but logical. Peculiar, strange. A white rabbit with a clock on a chain. He's late for a very important day. But I must follow, I must know where the white rabbit goes. Skeleton keys open everything. A wonderland key to change everything. Doors so small, wondering who could fit in there at all. A potion to drink, one sip it'll take. What a mistake. The wonderland cake, another mistake. Alice's tears begin a lake. So big, the game is rigged. Peculiar, strange. A white rabbit with a clock on a chain. He's late for a very important day. But I must follow, I must know where the white rabbit goes. Friend or foe, the caterpillar, no smoke. Rings of wisdom, magic mushrooms in this kingdom size to control. Alice continues her stroll. Peculiar, strange. A white rabbit with a clock on a chain. He's late for a very important day. But I must follow, I must know where the white rabbit goes. That had a deep body so bizarre, and everything is changed by far, confusing and absurd. definitely the Cheshire cat grinning. Advice on direction with no goals of his own. Persistent grin, philosophical debates. He knew the white rabbit was always gonna be late. Peculiar, strange, a white rabbit with a clock on a chain. He's late for a very important date. But I must follow, I must know where the white rabbit goes. Queen of hearts with unfair trials, executions for everyone all the while. She does this all with a frown, not a smile. Angry is she with her unforgivable deeds. 7, 5, 2, what do you do when it's off with your head? You paint the roses red. Ooh, painted the roses red. She'll find themselves dead. Nose off with her head. Alice wakes up in her bed.